element in Makueni. We have Mheshimiwa Jane Kitunga with us. We have Madam Lilian Muli. We have Joyce Muli with us. We have Madam Jane Macau. So we actually have a number of different players in the gender space, which we are glad to have here with us today. And we do hope by the end of this session today, we'll have unpack a number of things and some resolution which we can take away from Makueni or even infuse in number of Makueni, either policy or behavior or attitude of the residents here. So we want to start to play the video, but we thought before we do that, maybe you could just come in and say some few words on the thought behind the session today, being the Women's Day, and subsequently about Twaweza and just the overall event. So Risha, please karibu. Thank you.
Sure, thank you so much, Melania. Actually, if you'll allow me, sorry, I'm just going to share a screen to have a few slides because I'm not in the room. I thought maybe it's better just to do that. So you have something to look at aside from my face on camera. Great. So good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm sorry I'm not able to be there in person, but I'm really excited to be able to join you through technology. It has really kind of helped us to all feel very connected even when we're far apart. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Twaweza. My name is Risha Chande, as Melania has said. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Engagement for Twaweza. I'm based in Dar es Salaam, so that's where I'm speaking to you from. But my work looks at all the three countries of Twaweza's operation, which is Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. So yeah, a little bit about Twaweza. If my slides will move, sorry about that. Okay, so this is our vision. Basically, we believe in an open society built on the human impulse to make a difference, where information and ideas flow, citizens engage, and authorities are accountable to the people. So that's, the type of world that we want to see and that we want to contribute to. We really work on, we like to approach our work from saying that, we might not know all the answers for how to solve the problems that we all face in our society. So we try to approach our work from this idea of problems, what are the problems that we're trying to solve? And what that allows us to do is also say, we might not know fully the solution, or we might have an idea of the solution to this problem, but we may want to, change how we do that as we're trying to solve this problem. So the problems that we're trying to work on are citizens basically not having, in a way, enough power to shape kind of decisions that affect them. So we call that citizen agency. And so, it's things like how much say do we have in the budgets that come to help our health services, to help our water services? Do they reflect our priorities and the things that are important to us? So that's from the government side, but also how much do we think about how we can ourselves solve our own problems? If there's a bridge that's broken in our community, can we sometimes, as much as it may be the responsibility of our county government to help us fix that, when, we're finding that maybe the budget isn't available or there are some challenges, can we come together and help also fix something like that? So that's really citizen agency, how much we're able to kind of shape the things that happen around us. And the second problem that we work on is that there's the conditions that might make us more able to do these things, to kind of, express our views to the government, to have those views taken seriously. And these really, we think, include all these rights. We talk a lot about human rights, so sort of access to information, free expression, the freedom to organize yourselves, to come together with people, to make demands, to protest, all of these things. So we find that in the three countries that we work in, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, these conditions are fairly weak, and in some cases they're actually getting worse. So those are the two problems that we focus on. We do this through having three related missions. One of them is around really trying to model or show examples of how citizens can come together, make demands from government, and really solve their problems. So we actually do that in Tanzania and Uganda, not so much Kenya yet. We're hoping to get there, but we do that in a select number of communities across Tanzania and Uganda, and the idea is to really provide these kind of these communities as examples of what is possible when government and citizens are working together, when citizens are able to express their concerns openly and freely, and when there's productive dialogue essentially between the two sides to solve problems. The second one is really specific, and it's about a lot about the event that we have today. So it's about ensuring that citizens' perspectives and voices, the things they experience, the things they care about, are heard and taken seriously in decision making. And so that means, very much starting from the kind of village level, the way up to the county and up to the national level, how much are decisions that in particular government is making for us, how much do they reflect our concerns and interests and experiences. And the third area is really about protecting and promoting open civic space, which is those conditions that I spoke about, kind of being able to organize yourselves, being able to speak up, and being free to act, to make demands or to kind of solve your own problems. So those are the three kind of big areas of work. In Kenya, just quickly, we work on a number of interventions. So we have Sauti za Wananchi, which actually, hopefully you've all heard a little bit on the radio or on TV today. Yesterday, we had a launch in Nairobi for Sauti za Wananchi, where we were talking about, how ready are we for the upcoming elections? How are people feeling? Are they feeling excited to vote? Are they registered? Those types of questions. So Sauti za Wananchi is really kind of about collecting nationally representative data, not to use too much of a scientific term, but, it's an idea that you're taking a sample of people from across the country and asking their opinions in order to kind of represent the whole country. But the way it works is a bit like a bowl of kachumbari. If you want to know the taste of that kachumbari, you just have to taste one spoon, not eat the whole bowl. So that's kind of the principle of sampling. And then today we're here to share with you data from Sauti za Makueni. So that's a similar idea where we just have voices of residents of Makueni. So we represent what, Makueni residents on average think about things. So that's some of the data we'll be sharing today on Women's Day. We also have a role in the Open Government Partnership. This is like an international initiative where governments and civil society organizations come together to make plans and commitments around key areas that are important to citizens. And then civil society helps to, make sure government is on track with those commitments and to support them to implement where possible. We also do a lot of policy advocacy, so particularly trying to kind of take the data that we've collected, as I explained, through Sauti za Wananchi and Sauti za Makueni, to try and make sure that gets into policy and decision-making spaces. We have some qualitative research in 5 counties we call Wasemavyo Wananchi, and that's in Kilifi, Vihiga, Nandi, Makueni, and Elgeyo Marakwet. There we wanted to really understand the why behind some of the things we're hearing reported. Why are things this way from citizens' view, and maybe what can be done about it. That was very focused on how do we get citizens engaged in all these potentially really exciting participation processes that exist. We have a great constitution in Kenya, one that we're all a bit jealous of from across the region, and it really emphasizes citizen participation. And there's a lot of processes, from the budget to the county integrated development plan, sort of processes that citizens are supposed to be involved in. But we wanted to really investigate, how is that working? How are citizens feeling about it? And so that's our kind of Wasemavyo Wananchi initiative. And then over the past 2 years, of course, like many organizations, as we were all hit with the crisis of the pandemic, we tried to, take whatever of our initiatives that we felt could be repurposed to be helpful in the fight against COVID-19 to do so. So we were able to, for example, support the national government in terms of, sharing with them, what do citizens know about COVID-19, what types of protective measures are they taking, but also, how are they processing the effects on their livelihood, One of the things we really saw in that was, as you collected data in the beginning, people were very afraid of the health implications of COVID-19. But as time went on, they became much more alarmed and concerned about the sort of economic impacts of the lockdown. A lot of people were having food shortages, that kind of thing. And so by sharing that type of information with the government, we're able to help them to design their interventions. So, giving relief to some of those affected households, but also how they message, whether they should emphasize more on mask wearing or physical distancing or all of those or even vaccination. So we've really been trying to kind of work on that issue as it came to, to really knock all of us in the world. And it required, I think, all of us to try and make some effort to do what we could to help that battle. And then just quickly, today's event. So we're really excited that we're able to share these data with you on Women's Day. This is our, the day to do it, I think, in many ways. We have collected quite a lot of data from Makueni on this issue of kind of gender. So we really see this as the kind of start of a series of data releases and discussions on these issues. In this case, we're going to be discussing a lot about norms and attitudes. What are our kind of views on women's roles? What practically happens in terms of division of labor, for example, in the household? What do we think about gender-based violence or physical violence against women and men, perpetrated by the other sex, and how, are we willing to act against that? How frequent is it? Those kinds of questions. And really, in essence, it's to ask each of us to consider the potential biases and negative attitudes that we might hold that are, that are potentially holding our sisters and our friends and our family members back from achieving their full potential. And in particular, of course, because we're in Makueni, we're really excited to explore how all of you in the room and beyond, maybe on the radio and NAFM, how all of you think we can help to change some of these attitudes that are a little harmful, that do, as I said, hold people back, and to discuss all together what we can do to help that and to move us all forward together. That's it. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you could hear me okay. It's always a little strange being connected online when you're just speaking to yourself, but I hope that gave you a bit of an overview of what we do and why we're here today. And I'm really excited to, hear everybody in the room and about this great panel that we have lined up. So yeah, thank you so much. And back over to you, Melania. Thank you.
Oh, some more coffee for Risha, please. Thank you, Risha, and thank you for audience for being very attentive. I know there's a lot of a lineup which Risha said, very detailed. A lot of things which we've been doing in Makueni in the last 2.5 years. And we must say that the county official and even the residents have been quite engaged. They've been quite active with a lot of activities which we have been doing and very responsive. I don't know if many of you saw the clip which was going around in social media. Sijui muliona kuhusu ule msichana mrembo. And can you imagine how sad that situation, how traumatized that lady is. And while we might say those are just a few thugs, I don't know, Mheshimiwa, how did you feel when you saw that particular clip,
Thank you for this opportunity. Good morning, everyone. I am Janet Kitunga, MCA, Makueni County Assembly. When I saw that clip of this young girl who was being sexually violated by a gang of young men, honestly, I felt so bad. And I asked myself, surely in the 21st century, how can we witness such an incident in our country, and more so at the capital city of our country? Where are we as a country? What does this mean? I compared it about the rights of women in this country. Surely, if that is what is happening in broad daylight, where are we as women? Are we human beings as our fellow men whom we live together? It's so sad, my colleagues. So sad. I don't know. Actually, I felt so affected.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Maybe we could hear from a male perspective, or probably your name. Some could do. Moses, please, nisaidie to give the gentleman there the microphone. I really want to hear, because as Mheshimiwa was saying, it was really a sad situation, hearing that young lady wailing. And what was even unfortunate was some other male were just standing by. You know, even a non-participant observer, I tend to believe you are a criminal. So probably, I just want to hear. Oh, it's not working. There is okay.
Well, I would like to greet everybody who is in this congregation. Good morning. Well, pertaining that matter that has been raised, as my dear sister said, it was quite unfortunate. And being in the 21st century and getting such instances, it is quite very bad. So we men also, we condemned the act, because whoever was being done that way is a lady like my sister, is a lady like my wife, is a lady like another lady. So that is very, very bad. And as a society, we also need to look at the things that lead into these actions. Some of these things are, there's a lot of, I think, a lot of bad worship that is going around in our country. There is also influence of other things, like our young boys, the boy child is also endangered because of using many other things that are influencing their minds. So as a society, much as we talk about other things, we also need to know, to look at the root cause of all those things that are leading into this. And as we try to talk to people in other matters, we also address such matters, so that as a country, as people, as a nation, we try and eradicate such kind of things. And also, we remember God to pray that He intervenes in such situations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Janet and the gentleman, for those thoughts. And it's really unfortunate, as you're saying, parenting as a society, a lot of interplay seems to be pushing all these norms and attitude. And I'm sure today, being here, of the findings which citizens themselves have expressed will show us probably what is happening. We won't have their deep thought, but at least it will give us a bit of an indicative of where the mind is, where the brain is. And I think, Moses, maybe probably this is the time just for us to see those video, to visualize people idea what their minds are, what they feel about the various deep-seated gender norm. And then, of course, eventually, James will come in to share those findings from the research. So please, if you could have this video. Again, please feel free to walk over just behind you or in front and have a cup of coffee, tea. If you want to stand up, if you feel like you have seated for a while, please do so. And again, my team is around to give whatever support you want. Asante.
I'm Dr. James Ishira. I work with Towards East Africa. I'm the country lead. And today we are going to share findings that we have compiled from a survey that we conducted in Makueni, because we have a program whereby we have been collecting data for the past 3 years on different issues. And today being the International Women's Day, our focus will be on gender issues, to get to know what's happening at household level, what our citizens believe in terms of promoting women's rights, how can we be able to overcome gender violence at household level, at our place of work, and how can we promote our girls so that they can be able to achieve in different areas, at school, at workplace, and other places.
My name is Joyce Mulu. I work for Mobilization Agency for Paralegal Communities in Africa. It is a civil society organization based in Makueni, but we work in Lower Eastern region of Kenya. At Mapaka, I am the executive director. And in the organization, we have several thematic focus areas. We work on human rights, good governance, democracy, and also we do a lot of advocacy. We also have other programs like women economic empowerment, gender equality and equity, and livelihood support. And also we have a program on institutional building within the organization. First of all, what the society must understand is that woman is a person like another in our society, in this country, and even the upcoming young women. They are people of great importance in this country. And we should also bear in our mind that what a man can do, also a woman can do. We need to join hands and create awareness of, the retrogressive cultural norms which will hinder our women from going forward. I think that is what we need to focus on. Breaking this barrier, first we need to capacity build the women themselves. Because sometimes you find that, they are able to lead, but they have that low self-esteem. They feel that, they are not up to the task, but they are. So we must also go back to our constitution and see what does our constitution say? What does the Bill of Rights say, generally, as far as women are concerned? Yes.
Kutoka kitambo kwa mababu zetu tulikuwa tunajua kwamba breadwinner anakuanga mwanaume kwa kawaida. Wacha vile sasa vile maisha imeendelea ikichange, unaona kwamba mwanamke anapata ile nafasi ya kuingililia wakati ameachiwa ile jukumu, kama vile ukiwa single mother. Sasa hiyo inakuachia with no option rather than being the sole breadwinner in that family.
Breadwinners huku Makueni wengi ni wanaume, lakini wakati mwingine wanawake wanaingililia mambo kama hayo kwa sababu zisizoepukika.
Nikiangalia kabisa naona wakina dada wanajitahidi sana kutafuta chakula ya watoto. Naona kabisa hapo kuna kasoro kwa wanaume.
Kwa maoni yangu, hiyo miaka nimekaa sasa, niko na 48, mwanamke ndio anaprovide sana kuliko mwanaume.
Wanawake wengi kwa soko ndio wanajitegemea, wanaletea soko, wanaleta chakula kwa nyumba. Si kazi yao ni kuzurura tu na kurudi kwa nyumba jioni, hata nyumba hawezi lipa.
Kwa maoni yangu, the breadwinners in Makueni County ni wanaume, because majority wengi wanafanya kazi na ndio tegemeo ya familia yake.
Starting off the discussion, let's look at what happens at household level in terms of responsibility. And citizens in Makueni think that the main household breadwinner is the man. And this is based on the findings of which we found, like the self-reported findings indicate that 64% of the men think that they are the main breadwinners, compared to 34% of women who say that they are the breadwinners. From this finding, it's quite clear that men have a lion's share in terms of providing food to the family.
Mambo mengi utapata wanawake ndio wanalea watoto, naye baba ameingia akawatafutia.
Definitely it's a man. Yeah, because is overall, and given the opportunity, mwanaume ndo anakuaga na ile time mingi ya kukaa chini na kuanalyze, na pia experience na exposure. If you compare a man with a woman, utapata kwamba mwanamke mara mingi ako pale kitchen, ako na watoto, ako na shughuli zingine za nyumbani.
Tukikaa kwa nyumba, kazi itaenda mbaya. Ni mulama tu. Tukule nini? Watoto waende shule nini? Hakuna.
Ambaye anatumika sana kati ya mke na mume ni mke. Kila kitu ni yeye. Ukiwa na watoto, hawataita baba nataka hii, mama nataka hii, mama nataka hii, mama nataka kalamu, mama nataka kitabu.
Men have more responsibilities and in terms of making some of the key decisions. For instance, like savings, supporting extended families, issues around healthcare, land use, investment, for instance, if they want to start a shop, and issues around on where to take their children to school. Yes, men have higher share, but we also found that it is a joint responsibility between men and women, because like a third said that men have higher responsibility, of which a third said that it's a joint responsibility. Unfortunately, women have a kind of smaller share in terms of deciding, making such important decisions at household level. The findings also indicate that women in Makueni bear more of the load of caring for children than men. And this is quite evident because when it comes to household responsibility, for instance, taking care of the children, staying at home with sick children, collecting children from school, we find that around 6 out of 10 of citizens in Makueni say that's the responsibility of women.
Hakuna mwanamke anafaa kupigwa, sababu saa zingine unaweza kupiga mwanamke akaumia, alafu hiyo inakuwa police case. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kwanza mazungumzo yaendelee kwanza kabla hujapiga mwanamke, na kama itakuwa ni wakati ya talaka, si heri basi muachane, mwingine atafute zake na wewe utafute zako.
A year like 2019 we had a case in Makueni ya mwanamke kumdunga mwanaume na kisu.
There are instances whereby ladies ought to be, not to be beaten, so that's not the exact word, but to be corrected.
Sikubaliani na kauli kama hiyo, wanawake hawapaswi kuchapwa. Badala ya kuchapwa, wanaweza ongea. Watu huongea wakaelewana kuliko kuchapwa.
Nishashuhudia kwa plot na mimi nikachukua jukumu ya kumfuata huyo mwanaume na nikamuongelesha. Nilipomuongelesha akanisikia, nikamwambia usimchape. Na yeye akaacha kumchapa. Kama alikuwa juu kupika, nilimuonyesha upishi, unafanya hivi na kuchapwa tena.
When it comes to gender violence, the statistics are a little bit worrying because 1 out of 8 women in Makueni said that they are victims of gender-based violence. And as we try to probe further to get to know how does it happen, they reported more on slapping, being pushed, being hit, being kicked, being threatened with knives. So these are some of the things that really happen at household level. There are statistics that sometimes go unreported. For instance, men experiencing gender violence, of which we probed from the citizens, and we found that 2% of men said that they are been subjected to gender-based violence. But when we asked the citizens whether they had witnessed a woman like slapping a man and such kind of thing, the statistics went up from 2% to 22%, a clear indicator that there was a lot of underreporting from what we had mentioned before.
Wakati mwingine vita vya jinsia huletwa na kutoheshimiana. Kwa hivyo naweza sema watu waheshimiane ndio vita ipungue.
Vita kama hizi zinatokana na kutoheshimiana. Kwa hivyo kama kungekuwa na maheshimiano, sana sana inakuanga ni mpango wa kando ndio inasababisha vita mingi baina ya wanawake na wanaume.
Ni kulewa, mtu kukaa indo mchana yote, usiku analewa, anakunywa bangi. Ile uchovu yote analeta kwa mama. Sasa wewe utakumbali mtu ameshinda indo na wewe ulikuwa njobu ya? Hiyo ni mbaya.
Venye sasa uchumi imeenda juu. Uchumi uko juu. So hakuna vile mzazi hatakuwa na watoto kama 4 wako shule, tuseme high school. na sasa ni mwanaume, umekuja ukamwambia hey, watu wanahitaji fees, na yeye hana mahali pa kwenda kutafuta ile fees. Unajua sasa pale mtaleta ile unkomfi katika mboma, so hiyo ni ingine inaleta shida.
Unapata mwanaume ako na mipango ya kando, tuseme hiyo ndo inafanga ile kitu chungu sana kwenye familia. Alafu wakati anauliziwa kwa ukali na bibi yake, ana respond kwa mbaya.
Gender-based violence seems to be a big problem within Makueni. When we asked what citizens think that could be the reason why the practice is quite rampant within the community, we expecting to hear issues to do with culture. Unfortunately, it never came out quite strongly. We had other reasons, for instance, poverty, unemployment, lack of education. They came out quite well, but the one that was quite common among the citizens was alcohol abuse. And I think I can relate to this because in most households where there's wife beating, it happens mostly when men are drunk, which I think is a clear indicator that there is a lot in terms of alcohol abuse. Yes, we can't tell men not to drink, but I think they need to drink responsibly.
Those videos are very interesting. I know zilikuwa zikionyeshwa. Some people were nodding, wengine walikuwa wanataka kufunga macho. Some of us were also laughing. So I'm sure after James share probably, because this was actually the live videos, and then actually there's the finding, the statistic finding themselves. And James will be actually in the next probably 20 minutes will be sharing those numbers, which probably will confirm or test those particular hypotheses or thoughts which the various male and female we saw, baba na mama wameshare hapo. And then I think after that we can have some reaction, because I'm sure tunasikia tu kiti imekuwa moto. We are like, many of us are actually agreeing, many of us are shaking our head, confirming the reality or which we feel we live with it. So Daktari, please karibu for the next session of sharing the exact statistical finding for the survey. Asanteni.
Good morning. Hello, James. Happy International Women's Day. It reminds me when it was last week, I was debating with Sarah and Melania, and I kept on asking them, now given that this is a Women's Day, why should I stand before honorable women and start sharing some findings? I think I got defeated, because at the end of it all they said, you are the one to do the presentation. Whom am I to say no? So it's an opportunity, and I'm glad to stand before waheshimiwa, other honorable ladies and men. And today we are going just to have a snapshot of what's happening at household level. As my brother indicated, we as men, let me talk like I'm speaking on behalf of this tribe called men. Sometimes we think that we self-sufficient, but the moment you think about your mother, your wife, your sister, and your daughter, you find it's quite impossible for us to live as men. So there's a lot of complementation, whereby you're also aware there's no way one gender can exist on its own. So today we are going to hear a few things on how citizens view about gender, which, as you have heard, there are so many issues in terms of responsibilities, in terms of what's happening at the house level, in terms of gender violence, which seems to be a little bit rampant. And besides that, are there rules? Are we aware that they exist? And if they exist, have they been implemented? And when it comes on our side, how good are we at reporting these cases? How good are we in terms of preventing some of the problems or challenges that related to gender that's happening within around us. So today we are going to hear issues around gender attitude and norms in Makueni. So these are views, perceptions on how people think. So basically, allow me to take you to a statistic class, because basically this is what happens. I just want to give a snapshot, at least for you to understand why a sample size of 739 could represent what's happening in Makueni. Now suppose I'm a doctor, and then you happen to come to me una malaria. Now, should I remove all your blood for me to test whether you are positive or negative? I'm just asking, what should I do? Just remove a little bit, you go test it and then confirm huyu mtu ana nini. Because it can be a wastage of resources, drawing all your blood and testing whether you have malaria. So it's the same thing, even with statistics. We have to ensure that there is distribution. You know, with blood, whatever is here, it's already whatever on your foot. So it's the same thing. So if you ensure that there is sufficient representation, you can just pick a few, like 739 to represent 1 million. And besides this, we also do we apply some statistical methodology to ensure that there is equal representation. So it's based on Sauti za Wananchi. It's a big program. Melanie had explained about it. So what we do in terms of sampling, or before we get to sampling, we normally start with talking to Wananchi, getting to know a few issues that are affecting them. Then from there, we sit down with partners, we draft a tool, and then after drafting the tool, we have a calling center. We have some partners who have established polling centers. We ask questions, and then after that, we get the data, do the cleaning, compile a report. Then from there, we do public launches like what you are currently doing. We have publications like the one that you are having. We also bring in stakeholders, like the way we have brought you here. And then from there, we post the data and the material online such that they can be accessed by the wider community. Now, getting back to the statistics. So, So we have 536 enumeration areas. So what's an enumeration area? Is a section, a geographical section that compromises or has around between 100 and 200 households. So Makueni, and this is done by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, has been divided into 536 enumeration area. So what we did, out of this, we sampled 70 out of this. Then we had to do some listing, collect all information about the household, and then in each of the sampled enumeration area, we had to draw 12 households. Then from each of the households, we visited them. We also randomly select an adult aged 18 and above. And then we have been following this person. So what we did is to provide a mobile phone, because some could not afford a mobile phone, and to ensure that there is no bias in terms of having been disadvantaged of not having a mobile phone. We provided one, and we have been following this person for the past 3 years. So in a nutshell, that's how we were able to come up with the sample that we have used to get these findings. So the big question today, what are people's experience or residents in Makueni's experience in terms of gender, attitude, and norms? Let's start with what's happening at household level in terms of division, roles, and all that. The first issue that we need to look at is who is the breadwinner. So generally, among all the citizens, almost half said itself, because we had the main respondent. Maybe it might be a man or a woman, sometimes it's the household head and all that. So in this case, among the women, 34% say that they are the breadwinners. And among the men that were sampled, 68%, that's double, say that they are the breadwinners. So what does it tell us? Like, although sometimes we have men who are irresponsible, but majority of them are the breadwinners. And probably that's why if this person is not responsible, we find there's no progress, because kama nakunywa na nini and is the main breadwinner, you expect now the mother or the woman now to have to go look for a job and all that. But in general, men have a lion's share in terms of providing food at household level. Now, who is in your household has the final decision on the following. So it's not just bringing food or finding how food has to be put on the table. We had other issues that we also wanted to understand who has the lion's share. So we started with food and other basic needs. That's provision, which is related to what we had before. Spending time with the family, life savings, supporting extended family, issues around healthcare, land access and use, and investment and education. Now, I think these findings seems to be quite okay, because joint responsibility seems to be high across all that we have listed there. But we have some areas where men have a lion's share, and I think it is in most of them. When you look at issues around food, men dominated, it's 30 compared to 24. Although when you compare this again is the joint decision, it's slightly lower. So there's a lot of partnership, and that's why I said there's no way men and women can live separately. They have to come together for issues to move on at household level. Although men are a little bit advantaged on so many issues. Next. Now, I don't know whether it's the way we were brought up, and given that Makueni is a little county, we have some beliefs, traditions, challenges or practices that put some responsibility to the women. And I think you don't expect maybe a man to, especially when a child is sick, given that he has to go and do a kibarua, then it's automatic the mother will be forced to take care of the child. So when it comes to responsibilities at household or hapo nyumbani, you find issues around cleaning are mostly left for the female members, washing clothes, cleaning bathroom, preparing food. Comes to issues around buying food, when there is monetary implication, you find that there seems to be some almost joint responsibilities. Household maintenance, hiyo ni kazi ya wanaume 43%. Paying for household needs, men dominate also. Now, this is a clear indicator that it's like unwritten code that men have some responsibilities and women have some responsibilities. But I'm happy because when it comes to joint sharing of the responsibility, it seems to be high, although women, when it comes to what happens hapo nyumbani, they have a major role to play. Now, on issues around health, there were slight changes because we found, yes, it's a joint responsibility. Sorry, I think there are a few things that are missing here. But generally, when it comes to health, other than whatever happens at household, ladies have a lion's share in terms of taking care of the sick children, being with them, looking, if they have to be visited at the hospital, they're the ones who are given that responsibilities. So in general, sometimes we tend to think that from men's perspective, as if ladies don't have important responsibility at household. But the findings indicate that based on our opinion, they have significant responsibilities, and that's why they have to be included in making important decisions so that the uchumi inaendelea. Next, please. Yeah, women in Makueni bear more on load of caring for children than men. This is quite evident when it comes to daily care of the children, 64%, staying at home with a sick child, 64, collecting children from school, 55, taking care of children to leisure and activity is 40%. Now, I wonder how, if this can change, and probably we have higher share here among men, how would things be? And probably that's why, especially when wazee wanakuwa wazee zaidi, you find children tend to neglect them and then focus more on their mothers. I hope that's something that has been happening here. In my community, it happens quite a lot. And then you find baba anaanza kusema, hii shamba nitauza. You people don't care about me. You only think about your mom. But from what we find here, it's because the child is more used to the mother. Yeye ndiye aninifanyia hii, yeye ndiye aninifanyia hii. And I think this trend should change such that both of us can have equal responsibility, such that even our children can also recognize that men have to take some responsibilities at household level. Next slide. Yeah, what attitude are held against women? Because we have a few, which I think it's quite unfortunate. So it's good to get to know what wananchi are saying. Both men and women in Makueni hold a range of views on gender norms that holds women back. Some of the issues that were raised, sorry, there is a small problem here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for instance, we have children need to help their mothers to take care of the household. It's believed that most people agree that girls need to take care of their mothers, to work together with their mothers. The next one is women's most important role is to take care of the home. Almost 67% of the respondents of Makueni residents say, or they agree with that. A man should have the final word about decisions at home. That's 50-50. This one, they think men should take a lion's share on that. Taking care of children, including cleaning and feeding them, is solely woman's responsibility. It's at 38%. And girls should be less ambitious because there is family ahead to take care of. There is a lot of disagreement. It's at 64%, of which it's like that's something that used to happen a long time ago, and in the 21st century it should not happen, whereby girls should be given equal rights or should have equal rights. Then the final one, boys should be allowed to eat first because they get hungry more. So there was a lot of disagreement with that statement, whereby if children have to be fed, it should not be, or men should not, boys should not be given priority. So in a nutshell, what's trying to tell us that, yes, subconsciously men or citizens believe that boys and girls should have equal rights. Next. Yeah, now when it comes to issues around jobs, citizens were asked on a few more issues, so that, for instance, that since there are not enough jobs, when women work, they take jobs that are reserved for men. So this is how there was a strong disagreement about it, whereby it's clearly evident that, yes, although it used to happen a long time ago, but if we have a lady who is qualified, we should not just consider men, she should also be considered when such a position arises. The other one, women getting rights often means taking rights away from men. So there were those beliefs long time ago, but nowadays, even in Makueni, there is a lot of disagreement with that statement, whereby it doesn't mean that when you give more rights to women, it's like you are snatching them from men. It's that they were supposed to have them. It's only that based on our practices, things never went the way they are supposed to be. Now, have there been instances of gender-based violence? Yeah, as you've heard before, this is an issue, an area that requires some intervention. Because as we are going to see, for instance, if we ask, are you a victim of gender-based violence? So among the women, we found that 13% said yes. And in my opinion, there might be some underreporting. Maybe the husband was there. Hata nikisema nitapatwa na madhara. So this is what tunaona. Now, the most worrying thing ni hii, 2% among men. Yeah, so 2 men out of 100 said, hata mimi nadhulumiwa nyumbani. Now, I don't know whether this is true or not true, but as we proceed, we are going to verify whether this is the truth or there is some underreporting. Next. Now, in terms of types of violence, the most common one is being slapped, which is at the top. I think you can refer on your brochure, on their policy brief. The second one that is rampant in the community is being pushed or shoved. The third one, which stands at 5%, is the third one is being hit, and then we have being kicked or dragged, and the last one, a knife or a weapon being used or to threaten a woman, which stands at 3%. So we find the most common abuse at the household level is being slapped and being pushed, which probably we need to do something to avoid these things happening. Then we also find that half of the residents say that they have a male friend who committed physical violence against their female partners. So 47% of the respondents, they say that they have witnessed a male friend committing a physical violence against his female partner. So it stood at 47. Now, in terms of response, because the second part is, have you ever challenged this behavior? So yes, 47 said that they have seen it happen. Mimi nimeona baba akipiga mama. And then to show whether did I feel bad, because if you act, it clearly indicates you against that. It's only half, that is 52. Walisema hatukuna kitu tulifanya. Now, should that happen really? Because there's no way we can just say that this is bad. We need also to act, which is a clear indicator. Probably our practices are the ones that are making things happen, move towards that wrong direction. Next. Yeah, now, the other question was to get to know whether does it happen on the other side. That is, do you have a female friend who commits physical violence against her male partner? Now, you remember men said only 2% were abused, but look at these figures. 22%, they have witnessed it happen. So, in terms of underreporting, do you see there's a lot of underreporting? Because sometimes it might be referring to what's happening there, but because when the question was asked, it was asked whether they have ever witnessed. So high chances that it has happened within that particular household. It's only that they can't come out and say that they're the ones who are subjected to that. But the most worrying thing here is this 78%. And I want to challenge ladies here. Unaona mbaba akipigwa na mama na unanyamaza. Majority of you won't intervene. Hapana, hata haya yastahili kupigwa na mambo kama hayo. Because 78% said, no, I won't intervene. Wacha achapwe. He's supposed to defend himself. Wacha aendelee. Pengine anakunya na mambo kama hayo. So we need to reduce this for us to be able to stop these vices. This number is supposed to reduce to something less than even 5%. So it's not just for us to be able to stop gender violence. It's not just for men. I think even women are supposed to intervene even when men are being abused. Now, the other question was half of Makueni residents say that they would intervene if they saw a male friend being committing violence against women. So these are the statistics. When a male friend uses violence against women, a female friend uses violence against a man, violence of a male stranger against a woman, intervene during the episode. So 48 have intervened, 44 when a man is being abused, and 39% when a female is being abused by a strange man, and a strange female is abusing a man. 40% of wananchi would intervene. And speaking to the perpetrator, we find the values are still high, but not all that high. But I think for us to be able to stop the vices, we need to take personal responsibilities. Nikiona, whether I know this person or I don't know, I need to intervene because it might be my sister or a distant cousin and all that. So it's not just kwa sababu najua I'm there to stop the act, like what happened yesterday. If, for instance, if it was my sister, even if I was driving on the other side, I could have stopped my car, jumped, and then go there to defend her. Lakini what happens is, ni mwanamke kama mwingine. That's why all this happens. So it's upon each one of us to take personal responsibility to stop this from happening. Yeah, the next one, have you ever experienced any of the following form of violence outside your home? So most of the violence happens within the household, but even out the household, kwa barabara, at the place of work, such things happens. And the most common one is being punched. Probably most of these things go unreported. Being threatened with a knife by a stranger, being threatened with a gun, especially when the robbery is happening. And we have many other which we can't be able to list individually. So these things, all these things are happening. And when we compare men and women, we had equal reporting. So it's not just men who witness these things happening, even women, and some of them do experience them. Next. Yeah, have you ever, in the past 3 months, been chased away from your home or residence? If so, did you seek any refuge? So we have men. Yeah, we have among men, you find it's quite insignificant, 0.3, but in general, 2.1% experienced it in the last 3 months. So the most immediate person whereby these people took refuge are relatives. So if you have people close to you living around, chances are high that you'll be rescued to a safe shelter, which I think should be something that the county government should establish, such that whenever all these things happen, at least those who are abused can be able to run away and be accommodated. To a neighbor, I think they have been of great help, of which, although the reporting was quite minimal. And we also find that majority of those who are abused hawakupotea. That's 97%. So what does it tell us? Hata sisi wenyewe, we promote these vices. Kwa sababu, and that's why we had a lot of killing, as in if mesikia mwanamke medungwa na mwanaume and all that. Because unasa, pengine tu ni leo, kesho atabadilika. But if we continue doing it that way, we'll end up like, we become immune against the vice, and it ends up maybe making it things much more difficult, and even we end up losing our lives. So reporting should happen, and we should also seek help whenever such things happen. Next. Yeah, and the other question relates to why. What are the reasons? Because yes, we have reported all these things are happening, but we're trying to probe to get to know what happens. So we have a list of causes why abuse happens at household. So we have cultural and traditional values. To me, I thought maybe this one could have a lion's share among the 6 reasons, but it was at the lowest. So our traditional practices, yes, they do promote, but compared to others, it has the least share. Lack of education was cited by around almost 50%. Around 60%, around 50% also mentioned economical crisis, issues around employment and poverty. So, and I think this has been happening during the COVID period when household was stressed, economically stressed. So we experienced a lot of marital issues. But the one that came at the top, which is almost 71%, is alcohol abuse. Sijui vile tunakunywa hii pombe. And I think it makes us become more violent, and it kind of endangers our lives in one or another. So this is something that we need to do. Probably the counselors that we have around, and I think they need now to move even at household level to get to see how they can help men, because they are the most perpetrators, on how they can do it responsibly. Yes, we can't say that they are supposed to stop drinking, but I think they do need to do it in a more responsible manner. Next. Yeah, now there are a list of issues that we also asked to get to know whether citizens agree with them. And we found that 9 out of 10 residents say that men, whatever their behavior, should be respected by all women. I kind of disagree with this, because if wanaume na wanawake have equal rights, I think the same should also be applied to women. Hata wanawake wakifanya wote wanachofanya, we need to respect it. But basically, I think it's a result of our traditional values, whereby majority said, mwanamume akifanya chochote, wachana na yeye, ni kwake, he has the right to do all that. And we, as we probed further, we asked issues around rape cases. Anasema, ilifanyika hivyo, pengine alikuwa amevaa vibaya. Because from here, rape cases, we must always think what the woman did to push herself in that situation. So, yes, it's something bad that has happened, but there are a big share, almost 60% said, yeah, hapana tusiangalie tu ile imefanyika, we need also to listen to the man to get to know what had happened. And so, they're not just looking at the vice itself, they want to say, hata yeye alikuwa amefanya hivyo, anastahili kufanyiwa hivyo. We should not be the case. It is okay for a man to have multiple partners. So there was a lot of disagreement with that statement. Of us, 80% said that should not happen. And the last one, there are times when a woman deserves to be beaten. Yeah, we have these around 15% of citizens who said it should. Thank you, our governor, for gracing this event. Karibu sana and feel at home. Thank you. Karibu. Just to take you through what we had, we are talking about issues around gender, of which we have seen, based on our cultural practices, it's like men have some responsibilities. When it comes to household chores, ladies have lion's share, but when it comes to issues around bringing food at home, men have lion's share. Now, the next issue that we have seen, it's around the law. Do you have laws that can help be able to mitigate against this behavior? The findings indicate that we are aware that there are such laws. 74% of citizens believe that they exist, whereby we have a small variance, 72 and 75 men and women. But we have a share which around almost 28% of wananchi, around 27% who have no idea whether such things exist. And we had to probe further to get to know how citizens think about these rules. And one of them, we asked, made this statement, whether do these rules make it too easy for women to bring violent charges against men? Yes, there are rules, and we found that 52% agree that sheria ambazo tuko nazo, they make it too easy for women to bring violence charges against men. 43% that the existing rules are harsh, and 27% think that they are not harsh enough. So when we compare the two groups, we found the group that wins is the one that's claiming that the existing rules are harsh. Then finally, we have 41% who said they do not provide enough protection. What does it mean? That the existing, yes, they are there. Some of them are harsh and some are not harsh, but they don't provide any mechanism to protect against gender violence. Then 22% say that they expose women to even more stigma and pain. So, yes, the rule exists. 74% of our citizens in Makueni think that they are rules, some think that they are harsh. But the most important thing to note here is that 41% thinks that they do not provide enough protection. So what does it imply, particularly to our lawmakers? Something that need to be done, at least to ensure that there is, they are strong enough to help protect, not only against women, but even among men who are abused at home. Now, in summary, we find that when it comes to most domestic matters, women have a lion's share, so there is division of roles and responsibilities. For instance, women take a lead in terms of caring for children, issues around health, where men are most likely to lead on major financial decisions. Both men and women agree in large majority that women's most important role is to care for a home and the family, and that girls need to be to assist their mothers. But some views that are more supportive towards women include, for instance, you have fewer girls should be less ambitious than boys. Most people disagree with that, as in both men and women, or boys and girls, should have equal chances to excel in their career. And few says that giving women opportunities means reducing men's opportunities. Most citizens disagree with that, say that men should be given more, women should be given more opportunities for them to excel. Now, it's also worth noting that there is a widespread violence against women. We found that 1 out of 8 of women in Makueni say that they have experienced some violence. It's around 13%. And this should not be the case, of which we also found 2% of men reported being subjected to domestic violence. Something that we need to note, based on the questions that we asked after this to probe to get to know whether there was underreporting, it was quite evident that majority of women and men did not tell us the truth. There are a lot of gender violence happening at household level. There are signs in their report of difference between expressed norms and expectation on one hand and actual behavior on the other. Okay, we don't want girls to be less ambitious. That's something that we have seen. And girls should have extra responsibilities within the home. And this has some impact on their schooling, because when they are given more responsibilities at home, particularly among girls at primary level, it ends up making it not possible for them to excel at school. And on violence, we recognize that violence is unacceptable. That's something unacceptable within Makueni. But the most unfortunate thing, when a lady is raped, there are a group or a section of wananchi who thinks that it's good to know what caused that, as in men should not be blamed for that. But when you look at that, such an issue, we should not just consider or should not just find other reasons to make men less guilty. If a rape has happened, whether it has happened to whoever, we should take such a case seriously. Nevertheless, empowering women and girls, we prove to be difficult as long as we speak equal rights while continuing to hold them back in practice. So kama ni wanawake ama wasichana, we need to empower them. We already have rules that exist, but the most unfortunate part is that they are not strong enough to help us be able to promote the well-being of girls. So among policymakers, something needs to happen. Even us, it's not just you policymakers, because from what we have seen is like, nikiona mwanamke anadhulumiwa, nitasimama niseme, huko ni kwake. So I need also to take an active role as a citizen. Whenever such thing happen, niseme kwamba isiendelee. Hata kama ni mama anaona mwanamke akidhulumiwa, she's supposed to say that should stop. And if we do that, I think we are going to live as responsible citizens. That marks the end of today's presentation. Unfortunately, it started before the governor arrived, but we have a brief. At least you have a chance to have a look at some of the findings. But from what we have seen, there are some results that are encouraging, but we still have to have more intervention to promote women's welfare in Makueni. God bless you.
picha inaogopesha. Very, very interesting and very scary. But I think we've seen the videos, and some of us, I think when we were starting the session, we actually share our experience on the various gender dynamic and interplay which we see. From the videos and even from the finding, James managed to tell us, I mean, half of the citizen in Makueni did say that male are the main breadwinner and a third are female. Subsequently, in terms of roles, we're seeing that even roles are divided in terms of feminine and masculine roles. So we have women taking more of nurturing, homemaking, taking health care, and working within the home environment, while men taking other responsibility of watu wa mkono, watu wa mjengo. So they do maintenance, they do repairing, the one which contribute mainly to income. And when it comes to attitude, is not any difference. So similar attitude can be observed. And it's very interesting that both female and male resident here do hold similar belief that the specific role which are designed or defaults toward the two gender, and it should exist in those linear or those two duality, which I'm sure we will discuss, and Mheshimiwa, His Excellency probably will give his perspective on what he thinks about this being outside there. And we've seen 4% of women saying, I've been thrown out of my house. I've lost my property. We have 13% of women said, I have actually experienced violence, compared to 2% of our male. Not that we are saying that men do not experience this, but the extent and the magnitude of how female do experience this is larger and more so, or even cruel. 5% say they've even been stabbed. That is life-threatening experience for them. And not that we do not know about these laws. Two-thirds have mentioned that they know about the law which even exists in the county itself. So it's not that the county are not doing anything about the law or the policy. They acknowledge they know them, and they even went ahead and mentioning them. But it's unfortunately that we still have almost two-thirds of our resident population still engaging in this very unfortunate incident. So with these few words, I will welcome His Excellency to probably share his maiden speech and his thought, and his insight on these various finding from his perspective and his experience of what he thinks and what can be done way forward from here. So I am not sure of the protocol, and I know there is a protocol, so I will allow first the CS. I'll give you the opportunity to do the honor of following the needed protocol. So please.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
You are well?
We are good.
You are good? Can we stand? We stretch a bit. I think we have been seated for a while. Just stretch the way you know. So that I may tell you to bend, and maybe you have issues. So, okay, we can have our seats. Thank you so much. To our Excellency, our Governor, to our ESA team, my colleagues, good morning. I take this opportunity to thank all of us, and especially to our ESA for this great work that they have done in our county. They came along last year to interview some of our residents in Makueni, and we have seen in the clips, I think our Excellency Governor has noted an opportunity to see some of the people who were interviewed. Most of them I've seen they are from Watertown. We have a collection of a few individuals who were interviewed. We have women, we have men, we have some youth, and they have given their perspectives on how they think issues of gender norms, attitudes are happening in our county. And so the report that we are receiving this morning is a reflection, although some of the areas, the findings, I had some question marks, and that is, I think, why we are here to discuss and also to give our perspectives on what our findings have also been, because we have been also working in the county over the years, and we have experienced some of these norms, some of these attitudes, of course, some of which are changing, and there's a lot of change, even as far as gender norms, the way women are being treated, the way men are being treated, the attitudes that we have towards men as women, the attitudes that men have towards women. There's a lot of change. And also the space and the future is bright. And that is why we are here this morning, also to share our perspectives and also to hope that one day we are going to see some of these things changing for good. Especially there's the issue to do with the gender-based violence. This is one thing that we cannot accept in our society. One thing that we did not hear a lot from this report, although it is about the gender-based violence, but we wanted to hear something to do with what is happening to our children, because there's a lot of violence directed towards our children, and we also wanted to hear the perspective of the society, because the child does not just belong to the family where they come from, they belong to the whole community. And also we would have actually loved to hear what is the community thinking about the children, what is the role of the community, because unless we face this issue together as a community, we are not going to win this battle. So in a nutshell, we have been taken through the report. The report has also been shared to Our Excellency the Governor. Our CEC, Madam Naomi, she will also be joining us shortly. She has another engagement elsewhere, and that is why she's not with us here now, but she'll be joining us shortly. With us, we have a representative from our county assembly. She's a member of the gender committee in the assembly, and she was the first even to actually develop a bill for SGBV, so that we are going to have as a legislation a law that as Makueni people, we are going to say it is illegal for anyone to be abused, whether physically, whether emotionally, whatever form of abuse. We have that bill, and a lot of work has gone into it. We have also, as a county, we also have an SGBV policy. We have a policy which we have brought forth, we have developed as a department. We also have a children policy, talking about the issues of children. We also have a gender policy. Some of you have participated in during the dissemination. We have gone across the sub-counties. We have talked to our people about these policies. We have enlightened them about what the policies are saying, and we are looking forward to the implementation of these policies. So, with all due respect, I wanted to take this opportunity to invite Madam Janet Kitunga. She has been a champion on women issues, women matters, and I knew having her in this meeting, she's such a resource. She has a lot of experience, she has done a lot of work on women, and we hold her with a lot of respect. So I wanted to invite her to just give a few remarks and invite Our Excellency the Governor also to give his perspective. Welcome, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Our Excellency the Governor and Director for Gender, our special guests, all the civil society represented here, our citizens. I'm so much happy to participate in this forum today, and I am here because this is my calling. and I feel I am where I'm supposed to be. I am so happy for our governor because he's a champion of gender. And when we are working with him, we feel so much pleased. In the county assembly where we are supposed to pass legislation on the same, as our director has said, I will just repeat but briefly, we have passed the Makueni Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Policy 2021, whereby we are, we have passed the Makueni Sexual and Gender-Based Violence Policy 2021, and we are developing it to a bill. We are working on it and welcoming the relevant stakeholders to give their views. We have passed the Makueni Children Policy of 2021. We have passed the Makueni County Gender Policy of 2021. We have passed the Makueni County Sexual Protection Policy of 2021. And we have passed the Makueni Youth County Policy of 2020. And in addition, we have established a gender-based violence and a recovery center in our Level 4 hospital. My main question, and which has been a big challenge to me, and a very big question, is that I've been asking myself, what are we doing as a society and as a country to eliminate gender-based violence? Because in as much as we are advocating, in as much as we are talking about it daily, the instances are increasing day in, day out. And we have witnessed the incident of the young girl who was sexually violated yesterday by border riders at Nairobi. What are we going to do about it? My thinking is that we should address the root cause of this problem, but not run to challenge the problem. Let us all ask ourselves, what is the root cause of gender-based violence? When we were being taken about this survey, it has a lot of gaps. Why? Because we are living in a patriarchal society. There are things which we believe they should be the way they are. Why? That is how we have been socialized. I have been socialized to believe that I am a woman and I cannot do what men are doing. I have been socialized to be inside the house, whereas my brother was socialized to live outside. We are supposed to, my thinking is that we are supposed to challenge our socialization processes. And we are supposed to ensure that we have continuous awareness so that our communities should understand that women are just human beings like men. And we start it at the family level. We have myths which we have taken them so seriously, like they are the truths. You hear a woman who is educated telling her daughter, you shouldn't be cooking while your brother is studying. At this 21st century, we are not bringing up children as children, but we are bringing up children as girls and boys. We are dividing roles, which are bringing a very big difference between our girls and the boys as they grow up. And that is what and at the end of the day, we find that the men want to exercise power over our girls. Power over is the problem, and it has been brought up by socialization. When we give our people information, we sensitize our people on the rights of women, the human rights, they will understand. And we shall have lit fire, because information is power. We shall have lit power for people to be at a position to question when they see an aspect of gender abuse. With these few remarks, I take this opportunity to invite our governor to address this forum. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Ai, nambona mna sauti ndogo. Good morning. Okay. Let me first of all appreciate Twaweza and all the participating institutions in this very important event in which gender attitudes and norms regarding Makueni residents' views and experiences are being presented for discussion during the International Women's Day. And I think it is in order, first and foremost, to appreciate that this is an important day the world over for women and also men, because when women issues are being discussed, men are very relevant, and that's why we talk about gender and not just women's issues alone. I have had the opportunity to look at this report from telephone survey of about 750, to be exact, 739 respondents. And the way in which it is presented in very simple form for easy understanding. And in my view, if it is widely disseminated, it will be relevant not only for Makueni, but for the whole country, and even perhaps Africa, because a lot of these findings, in their seeming contradiction, and in their, some of them you will say they resonate with other research, what we think, what we have learned. Others contradict what we believe. And I think that's the richness of the findings in terms of they're coming up with what is real in the community. And therefore, the findings give us room to ask ourselves, as has been pointed out by both speakers from the county level, what do you do when these issues, persist and they are not the correct positions that we should have? We have worked as a county government with Twaweza since 2019, and we are grateful for this partnership because in a way you can speak about many things in an anecdotal fashion, but when you discuss things on the basis of research, the discussion is more grounded, it's richer, and you have findings normally which you can use to do policy, to do programs, to do relevant projects. And that is why I think, knowing some of who has been invited here, people push the gender agenda, among other things. I think it's important, as you discuss throughout the day this report, you'll be able to together decide on what each organization can take forward in terms of implementation. So the citizens are speaking through this research, and the researchers, as well as the NGOs, the governments, and so on, it's now up to them to decide what is it that can be done on the basis of what citizens think, whether we think it's wrong or it is right from our perspectives. In our county, we have tried, in terms of development work, to really focus on both genders, because in any community, in any society, in any country, under any government, where, for example, the female gender is shoved to the periphery, development obviously is very impacted negatively. And I think, for me, one of the critical realizations of our communities, our governments, is if you do not harness the strength and the power of the woman, we are putting the men aside a bit. If you don't do that, you suffer as a community, as a country, because you have less development. And I'm sure most communities, governments and so on, would like to see significant development happening in those spaces. And so this continuous work to interrogate what is happening in this sphere is important, because it will help in terms of the overall development that can happen in our counties, in our national government, our continent, and so on. From the presentation, which I found halfway, but I had also the advantage of reading the report, there was explanation of things that are troubling. For example, the main household breadwinner in Makueni is more often male than female. I think one has also to contextualize in terms of the various categories of the society, elite society, urban society, rural society. Because in a lot of the rural places, men tend to be absentee in their families, and as a consequence, when you look at the agriculture, who is doing more work in the agriculture, you find that the woman is doing more work in agriculture, energy, trying to look for energy. Here, of course, it is said in terms of household work, in terms of health provision, in terms of care of the children. But I think sometimes, particularly in rural society, when we examine who is doing the agriculture, who is doing the back-breaking work, there is a tendency for the women to be doing that. But the men, and even some of the women will say it's the men who do the work. So this is a contradiction, and actually there are many contradictions in this area. Many households are women-headed, the single mothers. I think sometimes we are given a percentage of about 30% or slightly more. So if to begin with, that 30% also is the breadwinner, is doing the work, then you have that other category of women who actually do most of the agriculture, do most of the mama mboga, do, hawking and all that. I remember I did a poem for one of the International Women's Day in Kikamba, and I was a bit hard on the men because I was telling them that we are absent in the life, in the family, in the nurturing of our children. We are absent, and I used a very powerful image because it was a woman who was complaining, but later the man also replied in the poem, and the woman was saying, "My husband is," in Kikamba we call it itialio ya mundu, meaning he's a remnant. He's like when you eat food and you don't finish the food that is left. And I remember one guy, he was so angry with me. He said, "How can you call us that? How can you demean us that? We are the men. What's wrong with you?" So I think that idea of who really is the breadwinner is an idea to be interrogated further. Of course, when it's formal employment, men tend to be in formal employment more than the women. But most of the people in these rural counties are not necessarily in the major thing is really that agriculture, the small-scale trading, and so on and so forth. Men in Makueni are more likely than women to have the final decision on all matters, though joint decisions are common. Yes. When the men go to towns to work, and many of them go to towns to work, and it's not easy, even in those towns, the women are left home. And a lot of the times, it's the women who are making the decisions. They may consult on the men and ask them that there is this decision to be made. What do you think? But there is also, as I have discovered, as I have grown, the power of women to make decisions without appearing to be making decisions, and to drag their men into those decisions and get the men to believe they are the ones who are making those decisions. I have a relative who used to fight with her husband. And, because she would say that this is what we need to do. And the man felt very aggrieved that the woman was telling him what to decide. So, this relative of mine said, sometimes I offer good decisions, but your brother resists them. What should I do? So we had a discussion. And then subsequently, because also my relative used to have one BO2, then she had a different approach. She would tell him, by the way, when you came home last night, you told me these beautiful things that we should do. So this relative of mine, because he had come from some bar, he did not remember well whether he had said that or not. But since it was accredited to him, he said, yes, you see now, that's a good decision. I came up with that decision and it's a good one, let's do it. But of course it had come from my relative, my other relative. And they stopped fighting. Because according to, and I think that's the thing about even when the decisions, because the decisions perhaps have to come from where somebody is more intimate with the issues. Because if the decisions come from somebody who is not very intimate, like what's happening with the children, what's happening with like education, most of the people who go to the education, the siku ya wazazi are the women. And they get that information. Even when there is extension, the women go. Even when there are many things, the women are going. So if the decisions don't come from the person who probably has more knowledge, then there can be an issue. Now, some of the findings have been pointed out in the presentation that they are troubling, like if 90% of the residents believe that all men should be respected by women, and that's the patriarchy Janet talked about, Mheshimiwa. And you see, after my father passed on, and I'm firstborn, my mother believes that I am now in the shoes of my father, that I should be able to tell her what to do. And yet she's older than me, she's more experienced than me. When we sit and I'm asking for advice, I get very quality advice. But there's that thinking that it is the men who should be respected and the men must lead in the family. So there are these attitudes which one can say we must fight against because they are not necessarily attitudes that help us. I'm also shocked by some of what was presented, that 6 out of 10 residents of Makueni, men and women alike, say that in rape cases, it's an important fact to look at how the woman is dressing. Did the woman participate? Did the woman participate? Last night, I was on a call with a young mentee who is a student but was doing attachment, not in Makueni. And sometimes, you know, she carries food at work, and she shares with whoever. Because of not having a lot of money, she prefers to cook and then carry food instead of buying it in the cafeteria. So she asked people, you know, if you don't have lunch, we can have lunch together. I've carried some food from home. And one day, there was this gentleman, senior, where she's doing attachment, who you know, he looked like he didn't have lunch. So she said, could you, you know, we can share my lunch. So a few days ago, and they did, as she does with everybody who says yes. Because according to her, it's giving, it's being generous, it's a good thing to do, it's a godly thing to do. So a few days ago, there was some party, and in that party, this old man, this senior man, came to sit near her and started being all over her. And she was very stressed, you know, and she said, stop this, I'm going to report you. She was struck by the fact that a lot of the people who were there, although they had some drinks, didn't come to her help. And then this man went ahead of her to report that she was looking after him, because she had invited him for lunch, so that when she goes to report, she's told, you are the aggressor. So this idea that you have to ask, how did the woman contribute to rape, is a very archaic idea. It is really a very negative idea, because a crime is a crime. If somebody is part of a crime, they should be treated as a criminal, and there can be no support of rape from anybody. That is not possible. So that is a troubling idea that, people do believe that a woman can contribute to rape, like she can have a short dress or whatever it is, or, that is not good. Then, of course, it's also, the report also says that women, in terms of violence, are more at risk in their homes. We did research, and the DG, I don't know that DG is not here, we did research which showed how even children were being abused by their relatives at home, in their homes. They were being abused in the schools by teachers that they could name, and they were being abused in the faith space. And of course, one can concentrate on physical abuse, but some of the abuse that lingers long in somebody's life is emotional abuse, is psychological abuse. And sometimes when we see some of these episodes of women killing their children, committing suicide and all that kind of stuff, sometimes it's, I think, part of accumulated emotional, physical abuse, including, of course, economic abuse, when people don't have the wherewithal to sustain family lives. So, of course, in the country, at the macro level, because this is micro level work, which is, in my view, of a lot of value, because if one is able to deal with these issues one by one through, I will not say the things that we have done because my colleagues have said so, I don't want to repeat. But if that happens, I think we will go a notch higher in terms of addressing these gender attitudes, norms which are not correct. And yet we are told that the girl child is privileged. We are doing a lot of work on the girl child. So if it's true, we are doing significant work on the girl child, why do we find things like this that still are negative? Why isn't there more growth in terms of gender equality and so on? There are main issues which will support what is described here in terms of more gender equality at the basic level, whether it's the home level, it is the village level, it is, whatever basic level. Up to now, our National Assembly is illegal because we don't have the gender parity that is required, the 2/3 rule. That has not been, we are now going into another election that has not been corrected. So that's a problem. That's a problem. In the Constitution, there are very beautiful provisions about property ownership by both male and female, succession as well, especially matters of land. But those things have stayed on the paper of the Constitution. In terms of implementation, we have a long way to go. Even things like AGPO, where we say 30% should go to women, youth, persons with disability, other disadvantaged people, I don't, from some of the evidence available, I'm not sure across the country that is something that has been achieved. And sometimes even men will use women as proxy, so that they have companies and the women are proxy. They are not the real owners of the companies and therefore the recipients of that economy. But I will also concede that we have made some progress, like where counties, people look at these issues, including even issues of gender-sensitive budgeting, representation, so that in all organs in a county, in the country, like in our county, we try so that in all bodies that are formed, at least the constitutional provisions in terms of how many, people should be in these committees, we try to do that. Even in Makueni, there is increasingly this norm that if a governor is a man, the deputy should be a woman. If a woman is a governor, that is something that is kind of gelling, although it's not in the constitution, but it is good. It's very, very, very good practice in my view. So let me not talk too much because you are to discuss. But please try to disseminate this as much as possible to reach like the schools, to reach like in the way in which is a profound work, but rendered in simple language, which is people can understand. Try to make it, to disseminate it as much as possible. And even I don't write articles these days, but a good article of these findings would really help to get also debate, and I can see the cameras also to make, and radio, to make this very, very important debate. Thank you, welcome to Makueni, and all the best. And I will ask to leave after a short while because of another engagement in Machakos. Actually, I was waiting to be told to come in from 9. And so I had wanted to be here at the beginning, but since I'd also read the document, we are together.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And it's really, we're really honored. And Madam Janet and Jane for, that intro before Mheshimiwa came and shared his thought, and you share your thought. And what I love most is the personal experience, those subjective discussion. It's actually very encouraging. And I love the statement of where Madam Janet actually said that socialization process at the family unit is very paramount, in pushing this gender role. And the most interesting, and I remember we had this discussion way back with one of my colleagues in Uganda, I think she's online, Violet, that women actually are the gatekeeper of this gender role. As you said, a professor telling the daughter, nenda ukapike jikoni, and the son is playing video game. And I remember that fight was very, it's an ongoing fight. So it's while we are saying let's include men in this discussion, I think also women are very powerful medium in trying to diffuse this power and control dynamic. And I love what His Excellency said, harness the strength of a woman, but also include both gender. I mean, I think that's a good tagline. Maybe my team can do a hashtag. Yes, harness the power of women. And the aspect of women being house manager is true. That absentee issue is really big. Actually, statistics in Makueni that 5% of households are female-headed. So as you've mentioned clearly and correctly, if you are to include the other extra 50, it seems they are the power Okay. I have been instructed that I should give an opportunity before, because our executive director is online. He wants to say a few words to His Excellency, and then probably yeah. So there will be a bit of introduction before Mheshimiwa leaves, so which will be very shortly. So let me allow then our executive director Bwana Aidan Yakuze. He's actually in Dar es Salaam. He really wanted to be here to say some few words to us today. Karibu Aidan.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Habari za wote huko wote Makueni. And it's really an honor to, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but Twaweza is really appreciating the collaboration, amazing collaboration we've had with the people and the government, especially of Makueni. And it is especially wonderful to see the governor there today. I'll tell you why, Governor, because Makueni is a transparent through open contracting, more participatory in efforts such as we're having here with Sauti za Wananchi, and more accountable to the people and the citizens and the voters of Makueni. So really, it's an honor and an inspiration that you, Governor, personally are putting out to not only the counties in Kenya, but also to other subnationals and national governments around the world. So I wanted to thank you very much for that. Equality, gender parity, in your county, in the country, in the continent, and around the world. So thank you for being there. And I want to end up with one small request for you, Governor Kibwana, and that is, could I please get a copy of your poem? I shall learn Kikamba so that I can understand the poem that you've written about men and their presence or absence in the home. It's fantastic to have a governor who's also a poet, or maybe a poet who became a governor. So with those few words, I want to appreciate your presence, request for that poem, and really appreciate your leadership in making government so much more accountable and responsive to what the citizens' priorities are. Asante sana, and have a wonderful rest of the meeting.
Aidan, I think probably from the poem, the only thing you'll understand is Kibeti. I say the only thing which I understand is my Kibeti, you know, my spouse, and everybody was laughing about it. So Mheshimiwa unadaiwa a poem, and probably we should do a big printout for the rest of us to be able to know more than just few Kamba words. I'm sure it will be amazing and beautiful. So I think I'll invite the CS to, or yes, makofi for her, please. Unless I am nimekosea, kama nimekosea mtabidi unisamee bure. Tunasema hivyo. Yes.
It's a prophecy. Yes. I embrace it.
So please, you can use. So please, Karen.
Thank you so much. I'm Director, Gender and Social Services. But it's a good prophecy. I embrace it. Your Excellency, we did not introduce ourselves so that you may know who is in the house today. And I think it's very important before you leave for you to know who is participating in this important activity. We know today there are celebrations happening also in other areas in the county, organized by other organizations, our CBOs, civil society organizations. But today, some of us are here. So here we have participants from different categories. We have representatives from our 6 sub-counties. And I will start with our host sub-county, which is Makueni. For your information, Twaweza, we have 6 sub-counties in Makueni. We have Makueni, we have Kaiti, we have Kilome, Kibwezi West, Kibwezi East, and Mboni. And so we can see the representatives from Makueni sub-county. If you are invited from Makueni sub-county, kindly can you stand up so that you can be seen? Can we clap for them? Thank you so much. We were selecting, remember we have what we call our champions in the community, who are gender champions. And these are people that we have trained. We walk the journey together. They help us even in the reporting of cases, especially the gender-based violence cases happening in the community. So these are very key people. We do not just pick anybody. We picked people whom we have had a relationship in the past, and these are our representatives from Makueni. I'll not give you an opportunity to say your names, but at least we can see you, so you can have your seats. Thank you very much. We can go to Kaiti. The officer can sit, not, let's have Kaiti, we have only 2 ladies. We wanted to have a mixture of men and women, but Kaiti, we have 2 ladies. Thank you so much for representing Kaiti sub-county. Mboni. Thank you so much. Our representative, Mheshimiwa, I can see, once you start asking for the vote, even if you don't go through, you become a Mheshimiwa. So, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much, together with the other lady, for representing Mboni sub-county. Thank you so much. Kilome? Oh, even Mheshimiwa is from Kilome, so Kilome is overrepresented. So, Bendenta, you can sit down so that Kilome is not overrepresented. So we have, those are the representatives from Kilome. Thank you so much for coming. Kibwezi West. Thank you, Kibwezi West. We have 2 representatives. Thank you so much. You can have your seats. Kibwezi East. We have only 1. Okay, Kibwezi is near Mombasa, so maybe they found it too early to be here, but at least we have a representative, so thank you so much. So at least in every sub-county, we have someone who has been able to participate in this dissemination of this report, and once it is disseminated to the grassroots, I think you'll also be very key, because you'll be saying at least you interacted with the report before, and so as we disseminate to the ground, we'll be able also to support that initiative. We have representatives of persons with disability. Understand we have 2 or 3. I request that we raise our hands. I've seen Kioko. You can just raise your hand. Kioko is the secretary to the DPO leaders. He's a very powerful man. He's the Secretary General to the DPO leaders of Makueni. The persons with disability are the most organized people I've seen in this county. And when we came in 2014, some of us, they presented us with a list, and they told us, these are our groups, and this is our leadership structure. And this is how I would want us to relate, to engage with the county. So they are so organized. And so it's a challenge to the women. We have been trying to establish a women movement so that we can even have leadership right from the top to the grassroots. So that if we want women, we know who do we call. But many times you find we are not so much well organized. So persons with disability, ongera kwenu. Do we have another representative? Okay. So we have only 1. Oh, I was not seeing your hand, sorry. So we have 2 representatives. Thank you so much. Then we have the civil society representative. Mapaka, I understand we had invited. Yeah, we have, good, you come in big numbers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mapaka hit the ground running before all of us. And they understand this county more than any one of us. And I can see they also interviewed during this research, and their views, they've also have informed this report. And thank you so much. We have been working with them, especially actually we are the ones we worked with in the dissemination of these policies to the community. In our department, we have interns. Those students who are on attachment, some are on internship, they are finished their training, and they want to understand how does gender, what is gender, how do you work in the county, what is happening, so they are here to learn. Can we have our interns in the Department of Gender and another department kindly? Can you be upstanding? Where are the ladies? Where are the lady interns? So we have Amos in the disability mainstreaming office. Amos, like this so that you can be seen, is a disability mainstreaming office. Francis is attached to the principal and gender officer. Some of them came the other day, so that's why I don't know their names, but Amos has been with us. Yes? Boniface, disability office. Yeah, so those are our interns. We also have others who are not here. Thank you so much. You can have your seats. You can see the mantle is actually being handed over to other young people to continue with this work. So we are not stopping. When we are out of this race, others are taking over after us. We have our staff in the department, both the HQ and the sub-counties. Can we have you standing, please? Those are our staff in the department. We have our officer from Bone, Kibwezi East, Kibwezi West, Makueni, Kilome. Who is missing? Kibwezi East, I saw her, okay. Yes, sawa. So those are our officers. Then Faith is our principal gender officer in the HQ. I'm the director for gender. Our chief officer is away on an assignment, and our CC, Madam Naomi, will also be joining us shortly. So thank you so much. So Your Excellency, that is those are the participants in this important occasion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Director. But I'll still hold the CS. That prophecy, I hope will come true if that is your desire. But asante sana for those introductions. I am impressed. Actually, I am overwhelmed with all this presence of different stakeholders who are. They took their time. They are they seem to be very passionate and interested on this gender issue. Sarah has mentioned to me, one of my colleagues, that we cannot continue without acknowledging some of our other partners. Sarah, you say that we have? Okay, probably just a wave of hand with the guys who are, so very lovely ladies who are here actually at 7 o'clock. They are that serious. So I think we've seen the video, we've seen the finding, we've had personal experiences from different stakeholders, and James has given us that overview, the summary of what is happening. And I think from now henceforth, subsequently, I thought that we have a list of our panel. So for me, take this opportunity to open that particular discussion. And I think we have Madam Janet being one of the panelists. So Sarah, probably if you could have some chairs here. So yes, I know Mheshimiwa has to run. Yes, I know. Right. Okay. We can have all of us. We are trying to discuss on at least to have a group photo with, yes. Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes. So before His Excellency leave, because he, as he said, he has to be in Machakos, we are proposing if you could all stand. Everyone to stand. Sarah, you want to take it over? Yeah.
Okay, so today is International Women's Day and we're celebrating the women in the room. But would you please join us in the challenge? So we'll take a photo, and the photo is, you stand and you cross your fingers, your hands like this. So the photographers will take a picture of us and we will continue sharing it. Just to join the rest of the world in marking the International Women's Day. All right? All of us, male and female. For our online audience, would you please switch on your cameras and then we can take screenshots of that too. Risha, please help us with that. So for the room, that's it. So many thanks to you. Thank you so much for making the time and for allowing us to take that picture. So just one more for our online audience. Moses, please help us with that. A request to... Yeah, thank you. All right, it's okay with you, would you please switch on your camera? Let's take, yes, that's correct, Evelyn. We might not capture everybody, but we will just capture what those who allow us to. All right? Moses, when you will guide us there, please. Or, please, Gilbert. Do we have screenshots? Or Jane? All right. Thank you so much, Risha and Evelyn. Thank you. Over to you, Melania.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And thank you for taking part on... what was the slogan, Sarah? There was a slogan, actually. Oh, break the bias, yes. Waswahili tunasema, vunja ukimya. Ama Risha tunasemaje huko Tanzania, ama baruani. Break the bias.
It will have to be Barani, Miss Yui.
Hiyo ngumu kidogo, wacha tuifikirie.
Baruani unasema si kutokomesha dhuluma ama unyanyasaji. Ama punguza ubaguzi.
Bias ni upendeleo. Kwa hiyo ni tokomeza ama acha upendeleo.
Acha upendeleo. Mmemsikia ndugu yetu huyu ametuambia kutoka Tanzania kwamba ni acha upendeleo ama tokomeza upendeleo. So I think it has been a while, a long morning. So probably we can have a 5-10 minutes of washroom break, some tea hapo nje. The people who maybe you didn't, when they came in, were in a meeting, you can do a bit of catch up. And then after that, we'll have our five panel member. Where is the program, Sarah? I think we have Madam Janet, Madam Jen, we have Miss Lillian Muli, we have also Joyce also. I think we have 5 of us. And then Gabriel is online. So for our next session of the panel session where we take a deep dive on our discussion, and then we'll also give the participant both online and also in the room to actually ask questions and also engage in this discussion for today for a number of resolution, their thoughts, their take on the finding today's. So 5-10 minutes tea break, washroom break. Asanteni.
Towards East Africa, I'm the country lead. And today we are going to share findings that we have compiled from a survey that we conducted in Makueni, because we have a program whereby we have been collecting data for the past 3 years on different issues. And today being the International Women's Day, our focus will be on gender issues to get to know what's happening at household level, what our citizens believe in terms of promoting women's rights, how can we be able to overcome gender violence at household level, at our place of work, and how can we promote our girls so that they can be able to achieve in different areas, at school, at workplace, and other places.
My name is Joyce Mulu. I work for Mobilization Agency for Paralegal Communities in Africa. It is a civil society organization based in Makueni, but we work in Lower Eastern region of Kenya. At Mapaka, I am the executive director. And in the organization, we have several thematic focus areas. We work on human rights, good governance, democracy, and also we do a lot of advocacy. We also have other programs like women economic empowerment, gender equality and equity, and livelihood support. And also we have a program on institutional building within the organization. First of all, what the society must understand is that woman is a person like any other in our society, in this country, and even the upcoming young women. They are people of great importance in this country. And we should also bear in our mind that what a man can do, also a woman can do. We need to join hands and create awareness of, the retrogressive cultural norms which will hinder our women from going forward. I think that is what we need to focus on. Breaking this barrier, first we need to capacity build the women themselves. Because sometimes you find that, they are able to lead, but they have that low self-esteem. They feel that, they are not up to the task, but they are. So we must also go back to our constitution and see what does our constitution say? What does the Bill of Rights say, generally, as far as women are concerned? Yes.
Kutoka kitambo kwa mababu zetu tulikuwa najua kwamba breadwinner anakuanga mwanaume kwa kawaida. Wacha vile sasa vile maisha imeendelea ikichange, unaona ya kwamba mwanamke anapata ile nafasi ya kuingililia wakati ameachiwa ile jukumu, kama vile ukiwa single mother. Sasa hiyo inakuachia with no option rather than being the sole breadwinner in that family.
Breadwinners huku Makueni wengi ni wanaume, lakini wakati mwingine wanawake wanaingililia mambo kama hayo kwa sababu zisizoepukika.
Nikiangalia kabisa naona wakina dada wanajitahidi sana kutafuta chakula ya watoto. Naona kabisa hapo kuna kasoro kwa wanaume.
Kwa maoni yangu, hiyo miaka nimekaa sasa, niko na 48, mwanamke ndio ana provide sana kuliko mwanaume.
Wanawake wengi kwa soko ndio wanajitegemea, wanaletea soko, wanaleta chakula kwa nyumba. Si kazi yao ni kuzurura tu na kurudi kwa nyumba jioni, hata nyumba hawezi lipa.
Kwa maoni yangu, the breadwinners in Makueni County ni wanaume, because majority wengi wanafanya kazi na ndio tegemeo ya familia yake.
Starting off the discussion, let's look at what happens at household level in terms of responsibility. And citizens in Makueni think that the main household breadwinner is the man. And this is based on the findings of which we found, like the self-reported findings indicate that 64% of the men think that they are the main breadwinners, compared to 34% of women who say that they are the breadwinners. From this finding, it's quite clear that men have a lion's share in terms of providing food to the family.
Mambo mengi utapata wanawake ndio wanalea watoto, naye baba ameingia akawatafutia.
Definitely it's a man. Yeah, because is overall. And given the opportunity, mwanaume ndo anakuaga na ile time mingi ya kukaa chini na kuanalyze, na pia experience na exposure. If you compare a man with a woman, utapata kwamba mwanamke mara mingi ako pale kitchen ako na watoto, ako na shughuli zingine za nyumbani.
Tukikaa kwa nyumba, kazi itaenda mbaya. Ni mulama tu. Tukule nini? Watoto waende shule nini? Hakuna.
Ambaye anatumika sana kati ya mke na mume ni mke. Kila kitu ni yeye. Ukiwa na watoto, hawataita baba nataka hii, mama nataka hii, mama nataka hii, mama nataka kalamu, mama nataka kitabu.
Men have more responsibilities and in terms of making some of key decisions. For instance, like savings, supporting extended families, issues around healthcare, land use, investment, for instance, if they want to start a shop, and issues around on where to take their children to school. Yes, men have higher share, but we also found that it is a joint responsibility between men and women, because like a third said that men have higher responsibility, of which a third said that it's a joint responsibility. Unfortunately, women have a kind of smaller share in terms of deciding, making such important decisions at household level. The findings also indicate that women in Makueni bear more of the load of caring for children than men. And this is quite evident because when it comes to household responsibility, for instance, taking care of the children, staying at home with sick children, collecting children from school, we find that around 6 out of 10 of citizens in Makueni say that's the responsibility of women.
Hakuna mwanamke anafaa kupigwa, sababu saa zingine unaweza kupiga mwanamke akaumia, alafu hiyo inakuwa police case. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri kwanza mazungumzo yaendelee kwanza kabla hujapiga mwanamke, na kama itakuwa ni wakati ya talaka, si heri basi muachane, mwingine atafute zake na wewe utafute zako.
A year like 2019, we had a case in Makueni ya mwanamke kumdunga mwanaume na kisu.
There are instances whereby ladies ought to be, not to be beaten, so that's not the exact word, but to be corrected.
Sikubaliani na kauli kama hiyo, wanawake hawapaswi kuchapwa. Badala ya kuchapwa, wanaweza ongea. Watu huongea wakaelewana kuliko kuchapwa.
Nishashuhudia kwa plot na mimi nikachukua jukumu ya kumfuata huyo mwanaume na nikamuongelesha. Nilipomuongelesha akanisikia, nikamwambia usimchape. Na yeye akaacha kumchapa. Kama alikuwa juu kupika, nilimuonyesha upishi, unafanya hivi na kuchapwa tena.
When it comes to gender violence, the statistics are a little bit worrying because 1 out of 8 women in Makueni said that they are victims of gender-based violence. And as we try to probe further to get to know how does it happen, they reported more on slapping, being pushed, being hit, being kicked, being threatened with knives. So these are some of the things that really happen at household level. There are statistics that sometimes go unreported. For instance, men experiencing gender violence, of which we probed from the citizens, and we found that 2% of men said that they are been subjected to gender-based violence. But when we asked the citizens whether they had witnessed a woman like slapping a man and such kind of thing, the statistics went up from 2% to 22%, a clear indicator that there was a lot of underreporting from what we had mentioned before.
Wakati mwingine vita vya jinsia huletwa na kutoheshimiana. Kwa hivyo naweza sema watu waheshimiane ndio vita ipungue.
Vita kama hizi zinatokana na kutoheshimiana. Kwa hivyo kama kungekuwa na maheshimiano, sana sana inakuanga ni mpango wa kando ndio inasababisha vita mingi baina ya wanawake na wanaume.
Ni kulewa, mtu kukaa indo mchana yote, usiku analewa, anakunywa bangi. Ile uchovu yote analeta kwa mama. Sasa wewe utakumbali mtu ameshinda indo na wewe ulikuwa njobu hiyo ni mbaya.
Venye sasa uchumi imeenda juu. uchumi uko juu. So hakuna vile mzazi hatakuwa na watoto kama wane wako shule, tuseme high school. Na sasa ni mwanaume, umekuja ukamwambia, hey, watoto wanahitaji fees. Na yeye hana mahali pa kwenda kutafuta ile fees. Unajua sasa pale mtaleta ile unkomfi katika mboma. So hiyo ni ingine inaleta shida.
Unapata mwanaume ako na mipango ya kando, tuseme hiyo ndo inafanga ile kitu chungu sana kwenye familia. Alafu wakati anauliziwa kwa ukali na bibi yake, ana respond kwa mbaya.
Gender-based violence seems to be a big problem within Makueni. When we asked what citizens think that could be the reason why the practice is quite rampant within the community, we expecting to hear issues to do with culture. Unfortunately, it never came out quite strongly. We had other reasons, for instance, poverty, unemployment, lack of education. They came out quite well, but the one that was quite common among the citizens was alcohol abuse. And I think I can relate to this because in most households where there's wife beating, it happens mostly when men are drunk, which I think is a clear indicator that there is a lot in terms of alcohol abuse. Yes, we can't tell men not to drink, but I think they need to drink responsibly. I'm Dr. James Ishera. I work with Towards East Africa. I'm the country lead. And today we are going to share findings that we have compiled from a survey that we conducted in Makueni, because we have a program whereby we have been collecting data for the past 3 years on different issues. And today being the International Women's Day, our focus will be on gender issues to get to know what's happening at household level, what our citizens believe in terms of promoting.
Hello, for those who are still taking tea and outside, kindly come in. We start the next part of our event. Kindly, those who are outside, may you come in. Our panelists are getting ready, so you guys who are outside, you are the ones we are waiting for.
Thank you, thank you. I hope you enjoy your tea break. Stretch those legs kidogo. So Risha, I think for us here we are ready. What's that echo? Oh, okay, it's fine. Risha.
Hi.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys? It's been so interesting so far.
Yes. I hope all of you had the tea break there from your side. We did fine too, and we are my panelists of the power dynamics, Madam Janet, Jen, they're all here, Lillian and the rest of the team just waiting for you. Is David, I'm sure he was to be here, but unfortunately he couldn't, but we are glad that due to technology.
He was actually with us, but I think...
Oh, he's dropped again, yeah, because I saw him on the Zoom call.
He was there.
But it's fine. So I think if you could sit down, jamani, tukae chini sasa, so that we go to the next session, because we want to be, by 1 we have our lunch, and then in the afternoon we can go to the other respective activities. So Risha, I think I'll open it to you, but our panel is seated, just waiting for the next session. Josiah? Asante. Thank you. So Risha?
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, Melania. Maybe I can ask Moses and the team to put the camera on the panel as well, just so I could see them and we can have a bit of a conversation rather than...
Yes, they're doing exactly that.
Amazing. Thank you. So while we're waiting for that to happen, I'm so excited to be able to moderate this panel from far away. Maybe I can just, since Melania, you've already done me the help of collecting our power team of panelists, maybe I could ask each of you just to introduce yourselves and just give us a sentence about your organizations or what you do or how you come at this kind of gender perspective, just to get to know each other a little bit. So maybe I will just try to go in alphabetical order to go easy. So can I have maybe Madam Janet to go first?
Sure. So Madam Janet is here. Probably if you could just ask the question again for her. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm hoping we can, I don't know if it will be, it seems a bit disruptive if we have to keep walking up to the podium. I wonder if we could use the wireless mics while people are seated. Is that okay?
Actually, the idea of the podium was for the camera people, but they've said it's fine.
Okay.
So it's fine. They say they have managed, That's why I like these young people. They have come up with a solution. Though Madam Janet is saying she wants to finish her 10,000 steps. she has a target of 10,000 steps, so she has no problem. But for the next speakers, probably they can just answer where they're seated or probably have an option of deciding to come here.
Sure. So then, since we're doing it that way, Madam Janet, allow me to do this. Please let me ask you to, again, introduce yourself to us and say a little bit about your work on this. Of course, we have heard a bit about that. And then I'll ask you the first question so you can respond to all of those at once, which is just to ask you what kind of surprised you the most in these findings? What caught your attention? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. As I was going through the findings and looking at some of the statistics, I have realized that, I don't remember exactly it is which figure, there is somewhere where it is stated that men are the main breadwinners in their families, and in actual sense in our societies, women are the major breadwinners in the family. I don't know. Figure 2. Page 2.
That's okay. That finding was definitely there.
Yes,
that
yes.
the men are found to be
Yes,
breadwinners more.
women are the major breadwinners, not the men, because in most of our societies, we have so many women so many families who are female-headed. The women playing double roles. They are the men, they are the women. They play 2 roles in our society. So that one was a bit surprising. And also, there is another one. There's another one which is talking about at some point where a woman can be beaten. I have seen some respondents saying, yes, however, the percentage is low. I can't exactly remember the figure. And according to me, page 13, there are times when a woman deserves to be beaten, and I can see, however, there's a small percentage agreed, and the big percentage strongly disagreed. According to me, I would say that there is no justification of women battering at all. Women have equal rights with men, and they should enjoy them because they are God-given. There's another statement also in the same figure 16, where it is indicated that in rape cases, we must always think that what the women did to put ourselves in that situation. I would also call that a justification, and this happens mostly when we go to police stations. You go to report that your husband has assaulted you, then the police officer starts asking you, what did you do? Did you go home late? Were you found in another relationship? Rather than the policeman listening to you, because the first place, assault is a crime. Then the policeman starts asking, so what you did to provoke your husband to beat you, or what you did to provoke your brother-in-law to beat you. According to me, that is a justification to a crime. A crime cannot be arbitrated and should be punished by the law.
Thank you. Yes, that's great. So I think there's a lot of this, in all those figures where we talk about, sometimes a woman deserves to be beaten. Sometimes she can be to blame essentially if she's raped. I think these are about how we define these things, right? As you're saying, I think the aspect of criminality, if I have something stolen from me, you don't ask me, did I definitely lock it safely? And if not, then it's maybe my fault that it was stolen, because we all know that stealing is a crime and we shouldn't commit those crimes. And I think that the point that we need to have a similar attitude towards the crimes of rape and domestic violence is a really important one. And I think it's really interesting about the breadwinner point. It's really how do we measure who's the breadwinner in our environment, where sometimes it's not just about cash or money, and there's kind of labor and care that we also have to think about when making these calculations. So I think that's a nice challenge for us as Twaweza to think about in the future when we ask this type of question. How do we kind of really get into the essence of the issue of the the different responsibilities and the different contributions that men and women are making to the household?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yes, please go ahead.
Can you come again? I did not get the question clearly.
Sorry, no. I was just commenting on your response.
All right.
I was saying it's the question of breadwinner is a challenge to Twaweza to maybe look at how we can, really assess these issues better at what types of different contributions men and women are making to the household and its progress and development. So maybe, Madam Janet, if you allow me, I will ask some of our other panelists the same question, and then I'll come back to you for further questions, if that's okay. So I'm just wondering if maybe I'm going to continue to try and go in my alphabetical order. So, Dada Jane, Macau, are you with us as well? Sorry, are you guys able to hear me over there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in the house. Thank you so much. Concerning that question, what has surprised me, it is this issue of being a breadwinner at the household level. And I'm echoing what Governor has just said, whereby we are still thinking the traditional way, whereby men were seen as breadwinners and the women were seen just as beneficiaries or just waiting to be provided for. But in my view and my experience and my assessment, that allegation I don't think is quite true, because you realize most of the women are actually the breadwinners in their families. And this fact that most of the women are breadwinners is shown by, even when you listen to the respondents who were interviewed, most of the women were found in a workplace. They are either selling vegetables, they are in a shop, and even they said the men, they come late and they come carrying nothing. That shows you women go to the market and they are feeding their families. And now, because of this shift in roles, there's a feeling of a threat, whereby some men may be feeling threatened because, this is their traditional role of providing. And some of them, for one reason or another, because they are not able to provide, some of them, instead of accepting that they are not able, they resort to violence as a way of building a wall. And others resort to a lot of drinking, so that when they come home, when the children are asking about food, because they are so intoxicated, they'll not be able to provide. And so that one resorts to violence at the household level. So that is one of the areas where I felt there's a shift in this role. And the other issue is about decision making, which is now asking who is in your household as the final decision on, especially on food. So if the woman is the breadwinner, it means she'll have the decision of what is to be fed and what is to be bought, because most of the women have been empowered and they are doing something to provide for their families. But something that which is striking, is when it comes to lunch investments, it appears now men, they surface. And this is where we also have the issue of access and the control, because the men would want to control more than the women may have access. They have access to the farm, they have access to the family car, they have access to the family estate, but the proceeds of these investments, the women may not have a lot of decision on how the proceeds are used. When it comes to healthcare, you find at the family level, and especially the traditional African family, most of the people with a lot of health issues are children, of course, who are under the age of 5, and also the old people. And then, who takes responsibility over these roles? It is the woman. So it's the woman who will decide what is it that this child needs to be well. They'll make sure the child goes for clinic. They'll ensure the old man or the old woman is feeding. And many at times the women are actually staying at home to take care of these, the young children and also the elderly. The other issue that surprised me was the issue of reporting on gender-based violence. Looking at that pie chart, the issue, are you a victim of a gender-based violence, whereby you see most of the women are, and a few men, that tells us that women are bearing the brunt of gender-based violence. And something has to be done, and done very fast, to end this menace in our society. And the reason why we have many women suffering from gender-based violence, or being survivors of gender-based violence, is as a result of some of the findings that we have seen behind there. When there's a shift in roles, it results to violence. When the women want to participate in the decision of how the family resources are to be shared, violence may arise. When the women want to participate without being held back, and they want to show forth their strength, they'll always be a problem in the family. Then now the other one is about women being held back. A woman's most important role is to take care of her home and cook for her family. You know, this is an archaic way also of thinking, a traditional way of thinking, because if the woman is the breadwinner, in my view, there's nothing wrong for the man to stay home and take care of the children as the woman goes around and provides. I've had an experience of this, whereby you find most of the women actually are going to towns to seek for employment, and they leave the children under the care of their mothers-in-law. Then you find, although the man is around, he does not want to care about the children. The other day, I had one who was calling me and asking me, you know, my wife is working in your household, and she's not sending money to me. You know, yet the man is selling the mangoes that are in the farm. He has sold all the livestock. He has not paid the school fees for the children. And he is following the woman to get the little income that she's earning. I asked him, you are the one who should be asked that question. Why are you not providing for your children? So it is actually a myth that women should stay home and take care of the family. This should be a shared responsibility. And nobody should take revenge or should feel bad that they are taking a role that traditionally they think it is the role of women or it is the role of men. And some of these roles, they are defined, they're actually influenced by some of the socialization that we have gone through. whereby women are being carcerized and they are being meant. Actually, most of the times we women, we are the ones who are entrenching some of this culture in our society. It is the high time we rise and we say, if it's a boy, if it's a girl, they should all play their roles. Not saying this role is for women, this role is for men. That way, in my view, we are going to have a more peaceful society. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lots of things. In some ways, you're also disagreeing with how people are reporting about these things, but also why what they think. That's great. I really appreciate it. So I'm gonna move to. Do I have Lillian there? Lillian Muli from Hidden Tears.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Lillian. Karibu sana. Please
you.
introduce yourself and say a little bit about Hidden Tears before you answer this question about what you found surprising in the findings, please.
So my name is Lillian Muli. I am the founder and executive director of Hidden Tears Kenya. Hidden Tears Kenya, it's all about leadership, it's all about innovation, social change, and mental health. Currently, we are running a counseling hub where we're doing counseling services on a discounted price that is 1,500 per session. And we are looking forward to have community-based education spaces where we can teach people about these issues to do with GBV, to teach people about leadership and to see whether we can elevate the levels of innovation, especially in the country and in our communities. So that is all about Hidden Tears Kenya. So welcome to all those who are willing to work with us. And thank you so much, Toweza, for having us here today. It is a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Lillian. It was great to hear about Hidden Tears. And could you tell us what you found particularly surprising in the findings, please?
So for me, that straight away, I'll just take you to Insight 13. Insight 13, where 9 out of 10 residents say that men, whatever their behavior should be, respected by all women. When you look at the statistics, that's 68 and 67, which is surprising because it speaks to what are the values that we are having as a community and what are the principles that we live by. Because if we give a chance for someone to just do whatever they want and we have to agree with it because that person is a man, then what does that say? Right? When it comes to the safety of a child and the safety of a woman in the society, and the man is doing whatever that he wants, what does that entail really? Because when you look at the stories that we're having in our communities, just to say frankly, there are women who cannot come out and say, hey, I am undergoing this, because they know if they go back home and there's no income. Now going back to what my previous panelist was talking about, being able to have access to property and all that, they do not have. So they can't come forward and say, I am going through this, and have a safe space where they can go back and build up their life. So I'm just thinking, I'm just drawing this out there and saying, so when we talk about behavior by men, what category really are we looking at? Is it the family man? Is it the government? Is this the policeman? Is it the person in the county government? Because if it's a policeman and then they're doing whatever they want, I will take my GBV case, my child is raped or I'm raped or something happened, I take it there and they'll do nothing because they have the choice to do nothing, right? Right? That's true, right? So that was very surprising for me. And just talking about the value system of our community, I'm looking at Insight 4, and the question is, who is responsible for buying menstrual health products? And the statistic there is 54% for the female. So what does it say when it comes to being aware that having a lady, a girl, a woman in your space, it is important for you to know that they are important enough for you to actually be concerned of the things that they need as a woman, right? So if my father is not in a position to buy menstrual health products for me, what does that say about our families, about our personalities, about our community? That was very surprising for me. I mean, you can't buy me pads, and you're my dad? Oh my. So now, the other thing is, I'll take you back to Insight 2. Land access and use. We have a very good constitution, policies around women being in a position to actually possess land. But what happens is, if I'm married to someone, we are going to get a piece of land, but it goes with the name of the man, right? So when I get to be chased away, what do I go with? Absolutely nothing. That is a conversation that most people shy off. They don't want to talk about it. So I'll take you back to the question of what is marriage and what is the role of both male and the female in that particular institution. Because it starts there. The way you treat each other is how you're going to treat your children. And the way you treat your children is going to translate to the community that you're going to have. So if a child knows that we are all equal and we are capable of doing great things regardless of my gender, and we are able to net these opportunities regardless of my gender, then that means we have a society where women are respected and men are respected, and then everyone is doing the role that they're supposed to do to make sure that our community is upright. Right or wrong? Right. So for me, those few things, they were very surprising. And it's just a question of, why are we fighting each other?
I think that's a great question. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, Lillian. So, and then last but not least, is it Joyce? Is that correct? Sorry, I have one missing person from the list I have. So Joyce, karibu sana. Please, introduce yourself and a little bit about Makapa Trust, and then your perspective on what you found surprising in these findings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Joyce Mulu. I work for Mobilization Agency for Paralegal Communities in Africa, Mapaka Trust. We are based in Makueni, but we work in Lower Eastern region of Kenya. And as an organization, we are working on thematic focus area around women and girls. And this we've done for quite some time, and it's much related to what we have here today. And my biggest surprise is in insight number 9, whereby you get that the respondents, okay, not that there are violence, physical violence, but when it comes to reporting, you find a bigger percentage that the people from Makueni are not reporting these incidences. And I'm quite surprised because when you go to the police, they are saying at 47, they are very aware of this physical violence. But when you go to the police stations, when you go to the prosecution part in this county, you find that the percentage of the cases which, are there, which are reported, is a little percentage. And this one is also evident here. Much is being done on the ground, but nothing is being reported. And this also applies to insight number 11 when it comes to reports. So I'm surprised. Our people are very much aware of the instances, the violences that are taking place, but they are not coming out, they are not ready to report. What could be the matter? Why our people are not reporting? Is it because they don't have awareness? Is it because they don't know the pathways on how to report these cases? Now, this one is a great surprise to me, because if they are aware of these cases, we want also to these cases, to see these cases being reported to the police. We want to see these cases are being prosecuted, and the women and the girls are getting justice. The other insight which has surprised me is insight number 13. When you go to number 13 about 9 out of 10 residents say men, whatever their behavior, should be respected. But particularly I want to go to the figure 16, where they are talking about the rape cases. If women, it's like, what happens when women are raped? We are condemning this act as far as women are concerned, like, their behavior, how they had dressed. Sometimes we see, what time was she going home for her to be raped? But I'm asking, what does that young girl, aged 2 months, 1 year, 4 years, how can we condemn that young girl? This is a big question. So it is for us as the society first to understand where we are, and also note that these are violence, despite the fact that this woman had dressed this way or the other way. This woman went home at 9, These are violence that has to be reported. And also, as community, we pursue and get to see that our women and girls get justice. And this is not even women and girls alone. We've seen a 3-month-old boy who was sodomized, These are the issues within us, around us, and we think to talk. We think to talk. We need not to be silent about this. So if we talk, our community will get justice, and alongside getting justice, we'll minimize these cases of violence in our community. So this is some of the things that have surprised me as far as this report is concerned. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Dada Joyce. Thank you. I think there's some really interesting things coming up from our conversation here where, there's a whole set of things around community attitudes, we ourselves, how do we view these issues and therefore how do we act around them? But there are some aspects that are coming up around kind of, more on the kind of policy and practice and governance side. For example, if we go to report these cases, what type of treatment are we getting? Are we being encouraged by the reception to continue to report, or are we facing those type of questions that I think Madam Janet spoke about, what did you do to deserve this, essentially, where we're blaming the victim. So I think, as we're on Women's Day and the theme this year is on break the bias, that's I think about all of us, and the type of attitudes we hold that might be dragging behind our sisters, our friends, our daughters, our wives, all of these things. So maybe I wanted to ask a bit of a specific question to Dada Janet and Dada Jane, who are representing a little bit the county. I see in the data that we have this toll-free GBV reporting line. I'm looking at Insight 10 or Figure 12 and seeing that quite low levels of people say that if they saw people, sort of committing acts of violence against somebody of the opposite sex, regardless of whether it's a man or woman, we have quite low rates of people mentioning that as a mechanism that they would use. Whereas from my instinct, I would think, perhaps that kind of answers some of the questions that, happen I think in many countries, not just in Kenya, where reporting these issues to the police can often be a challenge. So I wonder if either of you have any insight about that toll-free line and you know, what type of calls do come in, or how maybe we can encourage people to report there more? I mean, do you think it's an issue of people not knowing that that line exists, or is there something else at play that prevents them from reporting? And part of me is also motivated by the idea that, you know, I think one of the challenges of reporting, apart from the treatment and that we get, is you're often talking about reporting somebody who in one way or another is in your life, you know, especially if it's, for example, violence within the household. You're potentially talking about taking to the police or taking to legal mechanisms, potentially your spouse or somebody in your family, and that can create, you know, great conflict and tension within the family as well. So I just wondered if, yeah, either of you had a perspective on that, on the toll-free line, and if there's something we can be done maybe that can be done to encourage uptake there, or using that mechanism since it's been instituted by the county government.
Thank you. I think when we did this survey, our toll-free line was just a few months. We had just launched it, and I think it's not a reflection of what is currently happening. It's important to put that into perspective. But as a county and as a department, we have tried our best to sensitize the community about the toll-free line. We have actually even printed stickers whereby we have had them pasted in strategic areas so that the community can be able to see the number. When you go to the offices, especially the county commissioner building where our offices are, every office there is a sticker at the door, so that as the residents visit these offices for other services, they are also able to see the line. So we are actually in our sub-counties, through our sub-county officers, they also have also taken lead in sensitizing the community about this toll-free line. But that aside, reporting of cases sometimes is not up to our expectations. Reason being, sometimes the way these cases are handled, especially issues of evidence, when the cases go to court, dragging so much, these cases are available, somebody has filed a child, and then after a few weeks, this person has given a bail and they are out. So most of the people also fear for their security. So they end up not reporting. Others, they fear if I report and this person is released from maybe custody, what will happen? So I think that one also we have to ensure that when the case is reported, actually justice is seen to have been done. That's what I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So back to, you know, our theme for Women's Day is about attitudes. One of the things that I maybe found a little surprising in these findings is some of these attitudes that I think all of the panelists have pointed out, you know, particularly this one of 9 out of 10 Makueni residents think that regardless of their behavior, men deserve to be respected, or maybe even this issue around, as we're saying, you know, victim blaming in the rape cases. These seem to be held fairly equally across men and women. There isn't a sharp difference between how men are expressing these sentiments versus women. And so my question to you is, based on your experience and all the great work that all of you do you think that we'll have kind of greater traction in terms of addressing some of these issues if we work to target men, or if we work to target women? Or of course an option would be both of them, but yeah, I'd just be interested to hear all of your perspectives on that. And so maybe let's go in a bit of a different order. Can I start with you, Lillian, on that question?
Could you kindly just repeat it for me?
Sure. Just that some of these attitudes, indeed, even the one you pointed out about, you know, people saying that men should be respected regardless of their behavior, these are held by both men and women, largely in equal measure. There isn't a big difference, actually, and I personally would have maybe expected to see at least some difference in those perspectives between men and women. But we often also say, the patriarchy is carried by both men and women. Actually, it's not, sometimes we have this mistaken idea that it's just men. But my question to you is do you think we'll have more effect or impact if we target attitude change among men or among women, or among both? But I'd be interested to hear, where you would prioritize that.
Okay, thank you for that. For me, I think the impact will come in if we focus with both. We need to understand the role of a female and a male in the society, and how that blends in a way that we respect each other, we guard the rights of each other regardless of the gender, and we are able to work in a peaceful space, either in family, either in leadership, either in whatever space it is, right? So if we focus with one, then the other gender, how do we get to reconcile with what they think or what they are going for? So for me is, can we focus with both? Let us understand each other. Let us know that being a man or being a woman, it's not a debate of who is stronger, who is weaker. It's a matter of, I can do this, and if I can do this, respect it. Give me the chance. See my capabilities and respect that. If it's a man, you can do this, and I respect that. That's where we want to reach. A society that appreciates the capabilities of either a man or a woman, regardless the space. So for me, it's both.
All right, thank you so much, Lillian. Sure, maybe that, Jane, since you have the mic, you could also give your response to that. And if similarly you also think really we have to target both, I'd also invite you to reflect on what do you think is the best way we can do that? How do we really tackle some of these quite ingrained attitudes? As we're seeing, there is some there is a recognition that, okay, we're not supposed to be physically violent to either men or women. We're supposed to, we have in some cases joint decisions around our assets, but at the same time we hold some of these more difficult attitudes where we think men are the main breadwinners, girls must support their mothers in household tasks, or potentially over education and other priorities. How would you go about tackling some of these attitudes and changing them?
Yes. My thinking is that if we want attitude change in our communities, we should target both men and women. And on top of that, we should also involve the youth. The youth, these are girls and the boys, so that we can win in this fight. My thinking is that, and my experience with working with the community is that if a man talks about violence against women and the children, that voice is heard more than a woman talking about violence against women and the children. Most of the times the perpetrators are men. So if the men can come up and help us to advocate for the rights of women and the children, or eradicate this aspect of violation of women and the children, I think we can go far. And again, if we are saying that we are trying to put both the woman and the man in the same level, and our constitution, our Kenyan constitution of 2010 has addressed all these issues. So I feel that it should be a responsibility for each one of us to say no to gender-based violence, and that we shall have impact on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really I think that's such an important point, you know, having sort of male champions or spokespeople to kind of support us so that maybe they can kind of convince their peers more. Maybe allow me to go to Dada Joyce on that question as well. And then Madam Janet, I'll come to you right at the end.
Yes, I would like to say that in as much as possible, we are trying to fight against, you know, inequalities. We must also understand that from where we are in Makueni, we must understand the societal context, that it is based on patriarchal norms, which actually they are the societal construction since long time ago. And to break that bond, we must also think of engaging both women and men. When we talk of women, we also include girls. When we talk of men, we also include boys. Because in as much as we would have so many forums, caucus meeting, movements with the women, excluding men, actually, we are not making much strides ahead. Because we'll meet with the women, talk so many things, share, they understand where we are, they understand that we have to break these, you know, regressive norms. But when they go back to the society and they just start to speak, and then they are asked, hey, we mama, wa unaongea hii, unaongea nini hapa? Unajua wanaume ndio kusema na kutenda. You see, that kind of thing. But if the men are brought on board, it will be easy for us to break this bond, because it is not something that is static, but due to our cultural construction, African construction, it is something that can be addressed and that can, you know, start fading away amongst our society. Yes, back to you.
Thank you so much. I really like those responses. So maybe I can come back to you, Madam Janet, just for your thoughts on that.
Thank you. Okay, I'm agreeing with my fellow panelists that we need to focus on both men and women, but to some extent, we need also to be intentional, because it depends on what we are focusing on. Because if it is, for example, we cannot say in everything that we are doing, we focus in both gender equally. For example, when it comes to women empowerment, you know, we are trying to look at inequalities. And when you look at the inequalities in some aspects, for example, we are looking at education, we are looking at the reproductive health. You know, there are some of the reproductive health information that men may not need, whereby we have to be intentional. Like, for example, if we are taking sanitary pants to schools, men don't require that. So we have to be intentional also in our targeting. And as much as we want to target both, we have to know what is it that we want to achieve. That way, it will enable you to know who are you going to target. Are you going to target both men and the women? Looking at, for example, our county. As much as we say we have the Constitution, talking about the freedom, talking about the Bill of Rights, where women have been allowed to seek elective positions. But what is happening? Out of the 30 members in our county assembly, we only have only one elected woman. And yet, when you look at the population in Makueni, women are more than men. Meaning, we may need to target women with some information to remove some of these cultural behaviors and norms and attitudes, so that when we go to voting, as women, we can support our fellow women. So sometimes we may have to target the women to remove some of the attitudes. And this reminds me of the 2013 elections. I was in a polling station. Then a woman came to vote. Then the woman was asking the clerks, who are the people who are seeking for the elective positions, because she didn't know how to read and write. Then before she was directed, she said, "Na usiniambie mambo ya mwanamke." That is what the woman said. Don't you think we may need to target in this case, so that the woman will understand the strength in this woman who is seeking an elective position may even be better than some of the men who are seeking for the same position, so that as women we are confident, so that as women we understand that we can even do it, so that we are also at the decision-making space. Look at the 2/3 gender role that has been taken to the National Assembly. How many women do we have in that assembly? We have the 47 women representatives. We have other nominated women, but the law has not even gone through. When the law is being read, look at how many people are in the sitting. There are so few. So sometimes I ask myself, and where are the women that we have nominated to these positions? They should speak out. So sometimes, to me, I will say, it should be an intentional targeting. I may not say we target men, we target women. It depends on what we are talking about. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, I really like that point of, who are we talking to about what? I think that's really important. So this is going to be my last question. I'm conscious I'm standing between all of you and lunch, so I don't want to keep it too long. But this will also go to all of you. And it's a little bit in reflection of some of the things you've just said as well. So there's this finding that around 8 out of 10 Makueni residents disagree that giving women rights means taking rights away from men. And I think there's much to be kind of celebrated in that we don't understand these things as a sort of zero-sum game where for me to have, I have to take from somebody else. But at the same time, some of my reflections are that we are talking about, altering balances of power here. In this new dispensation, perhaps where before, if really the man was allowed to make all the decisions about the land or the resources of the household or how many children to have or any of those things, empowering women means in some ways that those things are not purely in his domain in some way. That would be my reflection. So I would just like all of you to share your reflections on that as we talk about really kind of gender equality and gender equity and the empowerment of women. Are we not talking? Are we talking about shifting balances of power, or is it really true that we can all continue to enjoy our rights equally, even if some of us used to enjoy them at the expense of others? And maybe I'll ask for Joyce to go first on this one, and then Dada Jane, and then Lillian, and I'll close it up with Dada Janet, Madam Janet.
Yes, thank you. I also disagree. I can see that greater percentage is women who have disagreed with this. To me, getting to advocate for women's rights is not denying men their rights. Since long time ago, when we started about issues to do with equality and, equity, we are trying to find a way where our women can, come close to men in terms of roles. Director here has also mentioned about positions, elective positions, and also appointed positions. In this country, we see that men have a larger percentage when it comes to these positions, and the women have a lesser percentage. Then what we're trying to do is to find how can women also come close, and have this, and get an equal percentage with men when it comes to, their responsibilities. So in essence, we are not denying men their rights. We are trying to bridge this gap as far as inequalities are concerned. When you look at different researches, they also show that in as much as we have tried as a country and also as a county, we have not yet achieved this gender equality. And also His Excellency in the morning mentioned about something to do with, gender, towards gender rule, and also he talked of 30% when it comes to Anchipo. This is very clear in the law, but yet we have not achieved this. So we are trying to find what ways women can have equal, roles and responsibilities as with the men. We also have other, international and regional instruments which are trying to bridge this gap. For example, we have the SDGs. We have the SDG 5, and also we have other, legal instruments like Vision 2030. In Makueni, we have Vision 2025. And what we are trying to do is to bridge this broad gap and have women having equal rights with men. So I disagree also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I think for me, my take on that Insight 7 is just the way of life. The way of life. Because I'm thinking, as a lady, let's go to the event that happened yesterday in Kenya. And think about it. If it were a man in that particular situation, what would have happened? They would have probably called him out and just have a normal conversation and sort things out, right? That's the bigger possibility. But then, because it was a lady, it's different. So, giving me my right as a woman, I'm just saying, if it's about police work, listen to me the way they would listen to a man. If it's a job and I am qualified, give me that job based on my qualifications, not because I am a woman. And if it's about salary and I am working like any other male person in that space, pay me what is worth my service. Basically, that's what we are talking about. We are not saying that now we are going to take all the power and rule over man. No, we're just saying, can I get the same opportunity? Can I get the same rewards? Can I get the same platform for me to express myself without you judging me? Can I dress up and go to work without you thinking that I have slept my way up to the top office? Because I have worked as any other person in that office, right? I am saying when I walk to this, along the streets, I just need you to respect me as the way you would respect a man. That's what we're saying. So we are not saying that you're taking everything from you. No. And we are not fighting. But then at the same time, we have to balance that and be realistic in a way that we do not come out as a threat to the male people in our space. In the marriage institution, even the Bible says, my people will fail if they don't have knowledge. There's something like that in the Bible. In the marriage institution, you have to know your space, know your roles, and do that as a man, as a woman. If you go to work, you know what you have to do. So it's a matter of balancing that and making sure that we respect each other in every level. So when I look at these statistics of women getting rights often means taking rights away from men, I am just saying we are just being resistant to change. We are so held up in our culture that we don't want to accept that this is a different time, different lifestyle, different way of thinking, and we have to go back and resolve that. Our culture is beautiful and we love it, but there are some things at this point in time that need to change. And realize that it is different now, and we have to think differently, we have to approach it differently, and not because that we want to make anybody look less, but because we want a better society for us, for a woman to be able to be a president in the country and work well without men thinking that she's just been given a favor to be a president of this country. Right? So for me, that's what I would say. I would say that we ain't not taking rights from men. What we are doing, we are balancing the society and saying that we can do better if we work together. And if we work together, we can have development. If we work together, we can have peace. If we have together, our children can grow up and be the best of the best. So that's my take. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. It is so unfortunate because day in, day out, women, we are always victims of circumstances, even in our institutions where we work. You find that you have all the qualifications, you are able, you have very good papers, you have gone to school, and you have qualified. And a man is considered to take up a position, and you are left there. Not that you didn't qualify. You did. But because you are a woman, you are left out. We have to struggle even in the county assemblies to get into committees, to chair committees. You find that most committees in the county assemblies across the country, they are chaired by men. And not that women cannot manage. You will find that even some opportunities you shouldn't be given or you should take as a woman, you have to fight to get that opportunity. Why is it that? And we have a very beautiful constitution, we have very beautiful laws which give us equal opportunities, which give us equal rights. Why is it like that? That has been my question for long. Look at affirmative action. Affirmative action was brought to level the ground of women and men so that we can all be given an equal playing ground. Now the affirmative action has expired. We have the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme land law. Why is it not respected? And you find that even the institutions which are doing legislation, it is those institutions which have male perpetrators of the gender. You find a legislator, a woman like me, is being perpetrated in that institution. And not that they don't understand. They do understand, so we have to fight for that. I believe we should be given equal opportunities, equal playing grounds as women, because we have rights which are God-given to work in this country and to challenge the poverty which is killing us in Kenya. We are able. Thank you.